Can we include on our minutes who's present, the folks that are on Zoom as well?
Usually, yes. I was on Zoom last time.
There's a bunch of. Last time I know. Yeah, we had Nick from UGE last
Yeah,
time.
and there was a gym person, my sister was on there. A Heather person.
I don't know who that header is, but it's on there a lot.
We can ask them to identify themselves. And
Yeah.
stuff.
Is this Jim Moore?
Yeah. I should put last names on front of the card.
So I think we could probably have that.
So they just.
Yeah.
Parking for you off street.
It's a special spot. Why is it along street parking?
It's just a small vehicle.
Yeah, I probably have the smallest vehicle. That's good, though. I have to say.
Anyway, is these the colors you guys were looking for the other day?
Yeah.
Bill?
Open that up today, so there it is.
Yeah.
Here. So just as soon as the wind dies, then it'll be gone.
So far, the only person on here is.
I'll just jot down whoever's on there.
Yeah.
Is Sandra's on?
Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna ask for the verification.
It's crooked.
iPhone 43. Yeah, we have Nick and I don't know who this person is.
We can
I
ask.
think I
them.
heard you there, Elena. So nice to see you.
Yes, nice to see you as well.
We can ask the unidentified person to identify themselves. Whenever we're ready.
Yeah.
We'll do this way. Yeah, okay, all right. All right, we'll open the meeting at 6 o'clock. And first up is adjustments to the agenda. I had a couple that I'd like to suggest. One under old business is just a review of the 19 Center Street status
Oh, yeah,
and timelines for that.
yeah, we can put that on.
Put
there.
it under
It's-
old business.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And then the comp plan. I know Sandra had emailed us a few weeks ago about that and looking over corrections so we can resubmit. So we'll put both of those under old business. Sorry, I'm a soft speaker, I'm sorry. I will talk louder.
You can remember, we're old.
I am too. All right, any other adjustments to the agenda?
No.
All right. In the process of signing warrants, we have the previous minutes to approve from December 12th. The only thing, like I just mentioned before we got started, we're including the names of folks who participated via Zoom. I have one other question, I guess. Under committee reports on beautification, it was mentioned about the sculptures and that we believe that if the town can pay to have the sculptures transported, they may be able to stay in town for quite a while, that last sentence.
Yeah.
I didn't want that to be construed as it was taxpayer money that would be going
Oh,
toward that.
well, before that, did it put that, the beautification committee was considering money raised? So just make it clearer that it. that they
Yeah,
have beautification
so in
money?
addition to that money raised, fundraising from the beautification committee,
Okay.
it would be other fundraising monies. That's why I didn't want to get people upset thinking we were gonna pay a
Right.
lot of money for that one. And that's all I saw. So we'll sign that with corrections. All right, I didn't see any public comment up there. Correct. All right, town manager reports.
My turn so soon?
Yes.
Like I said in my email, it feels like I just met with you guys like 2 weeks ago, and so I don't have as much as I usually do, but I do have some. So I will start with Edie Smith. I kind of briefed you guys on our little visit that we had on December 20th. She taught me a lot about how the process works, and I explained to her some of our concerns, like the match being one of them for the process. And she said that she believes that because we're in the lower income part of the state, that we would fall into the lower part if at all a match. So there is one that doesn't require a match, but the town has to have some skin in the game. And then anything that isn't applied for falls into our lap. So like if like if we go out to bid and everything comes back higher than what the engineer expected, that would fall on us as well. So I want to make sure that we have a good, solid plan before submitting because of that. I gave her the tour of the building and she was very much like, yeah, you guys need a new building like ASAP. And I was like, she called it a crisis situation, but I was like, I don't know if I'd go that far, but she's like, but it was nice to know that she was on our side and she was willing to help us. And she also encouraged me to apply through both offices, through Senator Susan Collins and Angus King. It just helps push the project through, she said. And there's no hurting of, and it's basically like a copy and paste kind of thing. Their applications are very
We
similar.
get money from both.
Right, right. And she also explained to me that, if we do not get the CDS money, they aren't just gonna leave us out to dry. They will help us try to find money elsewhere, whether it's through the USDA or something at FEMA or something like that. And she said that she would help walk me through that process if it comes to that. So, like I said, it's nice to know that they're on our side, they're trying to be helpful and they're trying to see what we need, really. So she's going to get me some more contacts that will help through this process, and she told me to get letters of support from other fire departments that use us as mutual aid as well. So she said that's a really good thing to have in our side, because then it's really making it known that this isn't just for Monson, this is for the community. And so,
Are there people that you can have, from Elliotsville, Willamette,
I think so.
and
Well, the county, yeah,
Well, I was thinking the county manager.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
but just, I think we all learned a valuable lesson when we went to
absolutely.
our
So it may be even from a resident down there that has had some of our services
Right.
before.
Right, and that's what she said too, and people that have used our fire department, people that are like mutual aid and residents, and really stressing on the fire department aspect of things, because it serves not just Monson, but the surrounding communities as well. So I thought that was a nice
That's encouraging.
piece of information to have. It is encouraging, and it's nice to know that, like, we didn't just dream up one day that we wanted a new building. Like, it's a need, and
We had an objective observer see. how
Exactly.
Data shape things, yeah.
exactly. So, that's the first update, and I'm going to go to the second one, which was I was supposed to meet with John and Angie from Piscataquis Economic Development Council. But unfortunately, that was on Tuesday when I had my wisdom tooth out, so I rescheduled it for now. They're coming this coming Tuesday, and they will help with grant writing and stuff like that.
Oh,
So I'm not 100% sure what else that they do, which is why they're coming to talk to me
Okay.
to kind of go over what they can help with. And they're really interested in the new municipal building part too, so they're thinking that, and anything that they can do to help. they said.
I was gonna say if they can help write a grant for the part we have to kick in.
Right.
Perfect.
So, that's exciting. I'll do a road committee update next. We had a road committee meeting on Tuesday to go over and just fine tooth comb what we want to do for the next year, as well as projects for the next year. So, now that we have some solid budget numbers that we are proposing to put in for the budget, this year, we're gonna be our focus is gonna be putting together a 5-year plan to start. So, and then we can kind of transpire that into like a 10-year plan, but the 5-year plan is really, and it might change a little bit because we're doing so much work right now, we won't have to do as much work when we start this process over. So, that's the plan there. Yeah, so we scheduled another meeting for next month, so we're just meeting monthly to get through to that. Some of the things that we want to do next year include ditching and renting out equipment and then contracting out things that we can't do with the excavator that we rent. So it's going to be a huge increase from previous years, but it's definitely something that's really needed. And reality of it is we're aside, the contracting piece out is only ends up being a mile of road, a half a mile on the Daggett Stream Road and a half a mile on the Barrows Falls Road. And so when we look at those numbers, it's gonna be like, oh my gosh, but in reality, it's only 1 mile of road. So it's like, and we've reached out to other towns to see, you know, like, we are in the lowest end of what they do for summer work and what they have set aside for summer work. So, I mean, when you're talking a budget of $7,000 for all roads for the whole year, that's not including any emergency or anything like that. So that is that. The fire department storage. The fire truck is finally out of the public works garage and in the warehouse that John Wentworth manages, and it will be there until at least the springtime unless it's sold before then.
Okay.
So the loader and the truck are back in the building now.
Have they posted that with Brinley? Yeah.
I know that I don't know if it's posted yet or not. I know that they were working on it because Chuck was taking the pictures because there's certain pictures that they want. And so Chuck was working with them to get the exact pictures that they want and the write-up and everything. So I know that he was doing that like last week-ish sometime, so it might be up by now.
Are we planning on putting something out, like in the papers, or?
We can do that if we want to.
I would say pursue all avenues, I mean.
Yeah. Get rid of it. Yeah. We can do that. Let me write that down.
There isn't anything was there any contract that was signed with Brinley?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so we wouldn't be
Right, in violation.
in violation of something if we sold it.
Right. They didn't want the truck, so I don't think they really probably put much effort into selling
And
it.
it probably won't make much
No,
commission
it's-
off it.
I think they would have paid scrap value, which wouldn't have paid to haul it to.
And do we get to deny anything from Brinley? Or can they just say, oh, we just sold it for $1,000?
I don't know how that works. I don't
Imagine it would be the same as anything else.
I'm sure there's probably a price range, but I
Right.
don't know.
I don't know.
That could be stuff Chuck could probably answer.
Yeah.
Alright. I just need to write that down or it won't happen.
Have I got a deal for you? Very on fire.
Your very own red fire truck.
So anyways, so the fire department storage is settled for now. And once springtime comes, we can readjust and go
Thank
from
you
there.
for handling
Yeah.
that.
I just wanted to find a solution that was gonna work for everybody without having to cause a scene or make somebody feel like they're less important.
Yeah, we get our new equipment where,
Exactly, where it needs it to be.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So my last update is about the shoreline zoning ordinance. I was finally able to get in touch with somebody from DEP who directed me back to Jessica Sayers. And after the holidays, finally, she reached back out to me and said, send me a copy of the ordinance. So I did that just yesterday. And then today she wanted a copy of the town meeting minutes. so she said that she's going to submit that, they're going to give feedback, and then it will come back to us.
Okay.
So-
What office is she?
She's DEP.
DEP, that's.
Yeah.
Okay.
So once that happens, once they give us the feedback, she'll give me the next steps on what to do with it.
Okay.
But we got the original template from DEP, so I can't imagine that there's too much that we need to fix. I'm really hoping. So like I said, they'll review it, she'll send it back, and then she'll let us know what the next steps are.
Like, I was newly on the planning board when we had that meeting where it was passed, and I'm fairly certain that, I remember Cindy saying that, I mean, it came from the state.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't something that we invented,
Right, so,
like, you need to make these changes to your
right,
shoreline, I think.
yeah, it was, because, it
And
was.
so for them to,
then have to give feedback on it and all of this stuff makes no sense to me either, but apparently that's how the process works.
perfect,
So that is what I have for now, that's not on the agenda.
Okay. And, budget, I just wanted
Oh,
to
yeah,
have
yeah.
one question. So,
Sure thing.
we should be, if I calculated right, 50% through the fiscal year?
Mhm.
Okay. And everything looked lined up. Anything that you noticed was,
I know that the last time that we talked, the website was
oh, right.
over by like $2,000 or something like that, and I actually moved that because it was something else that wasn't the website, so
Oh,
now it's just $276, which was the website, so I don't know.
Okay, thanks for checking that. That's
Yeah,
great.
so
That was, yeah.
that was the only thing, the only change.
And fire department is like way under budget?
Yeah,
We saw that.
yeah,
Yeah.
but there will be some purchases in the near future that we've gone over that they just have to have, they have some
That's what I was
as
batteries.
long as you,
Yeah.
as long as there's a process. Like,
Yeah.
then it's working the way it should.
Exactly, I totally agree, and
We'll be better aligned for the next budget.
yeah,
All right, thanks, Alina.
Oh, one thing on the budget, on the pay for gym down at the transfer station. Why is the regular
I do not know, so hang on a second.
like 9,000 and something and the part-time is 0, but his pay's coming out of the part-time?
Oh, it's probably.
It's just coming out of the wrong line, I don't know
It's that one time too.
why, but I
You
thought
have
that,
the account number right there, I'll just change it tomorrow.
no, because when I print things, it cuts off the quarter of the margin, so I don't have the account number,
I can
but,
find it.
um,
So what is it?
it's just regular instead of part-time,
So it should be out of regular.
yes.
Good to have a lot of eyes on this sometimes.
You'll cross it by the time you get down the bottom of it.
Believe me, I read this thing so many times, and so the one that I have is actually like 38 pages because it's detailed. And I printed it out to do the budget with it, so I could find out what bill was exactly what bill. That will make your eyes go cross, I can assure you that.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or? Okay, down to select board reports. I'll start with it.
Yep, got a couple. I have been approached and questioned by a few people in regards to where some of the money from the flags is gonna go and also the town yard sale. I do believe that we should have a much larger discussion. You know, we've got a lot of irons in the fire between the new building, possibly if we don't get a new building options, and obviously with our roads and the gym and everything. So, and I don't think that we obviously have to make the final decision, but I think we need to get more input, because the people that I've talked to, they all have, you know, a little something different that they think. And I think when we represent the town, you know, we should take some of their input. on this.
For sure.
I think that's a fair input on their part.
Because me being the chairperson of the fundraiser for the gym
Mhm.
and kind of help push the yard sale, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, is this all going to the gym or is this all going to something else? And the way I feel is it doesn't necessarily. We've got more things than the gym. The gym obviously is very important, without a doubt.
Just mention that so far, the fundraising for the gym is 18,700.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow. That's great.
And I am planning on getting an email out to the rest of the committee to get another meeting going and see if we can do something with a raffle and maybe a fundraiser during snow roller day.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Again,
I don't know if it's appropriate, so I'm
Go ahead.
learning, I'm learning. So, you know, about the, just say, I talked to you and about the monies allegedly going to the beautification committee, possibly. Some people think it's a done deal. I wouldn't vote for that. I think there's more important things to put the monies into. It doesn't have to be the roof of the gym, but if we lose that building, we have no place to gather as a town. And for me, top two things for me is fire station, the roof. I think if we have to go without certain things, I can't imagine happening like flowers and stuff like that for a year or two, to put our efforts in the most important things and work our way down makes sense to me. I mean, if it was a decision I was making, not necessary for the town, but for our household, you
Yeah.
start at the important, you work your way down. Sometimes you can't go on that trip you always want to go on. But I
And
just
doesn't
want,
that bum you out with not having?
Yeah. but thank you for listening to me.
Yeah.
No, thank you. And just to note, the beautification committee, as well as the other town committees, they get appropriation, from the town. So we'll still have flowers out there.
Yeah,
Right.
that was my thing, that I know beautification gets a stipend,
Right.
and then I assume the rec department and stuff like that. So they got some money, and I think one of the things that sometimes these groups need to learn is to fundraise. Accept the money that's generously given by the town, but they need to fundraise. They have to put some elbow grease into it.
And beautification does that.
They
There's
do
been
do
a
that.
fund for that.
They do.
But I think, prioritizing our needs.
and I think in this town, there always used to be a lot more fundraising amongst all the different
Right.
committees and organizations. They all, I mean, I can remember, cookouts, barbecues, bottle drives, I mean.
Yeah, and sometimes people don't know about these things unless you're involved in certain committees.
Right.
So it's nice to be able to put that out so people know, oh my goodness, I didn't know they were doing that.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you. Anything else, Aaron?
The other thing goes back to Jonathan's email from earlier in the week about the tree on the corner of the road.
North Guilford and Stewart's.
I talked with Steve and both of us kind of thought just pushing it to the side wasn't really a good idea, because that could potentially just irritate the landowner a little more.
Sure.
So he was trying to contact a couple people that have a crane that can come up and pick it up and
Yeah.
haul it right to the dump. I know one of them, last I talked to him, we hadn't heard back. He was gonna try another guy. And the worst case scenario, either I'll bring my tag trailer down and he'll load it on there, or we'll take the sander out of the town truck. And load it on there, because the thing is, a lot of it is small.
Yeah.
So
Well, and if I had realized before it just never clicked for me and the purpose of my
Yeah.
email was to have a discussion about
Right,
it,
yeah.
not to solve it.
Right.
But, I think that, if it comes down to, we need to put some elbow grease in to move it, I'm willing to also help with that. Like,
If the pieces aren't too big, I'll help too.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's
there
a
are,
couple of big
There's
ones,
a
there's
couple of
big pieces.
but they are right on.
But I just don't
Right.
understand why they would have just left it that
'Cause
close
that's
to
CM
what
the
they
Road.
road.
do.
Was it CMP,
Yes.
right?
But that's what they just get it off the line. That's all they're.
Like if you drive up to Lily Bay right now, there's trees that are right on the white line that've been there for 2 years, 3 years.
It just blows my mind. Like, I'm just gonna cut up this tree. I know it's in the road, but
So that's what.
Somebody else's problem.
Across the street from my house, right across from my driveway, big birch that had all kinds of different trunks coming off it. Came down and I mean, it was literally still poking out into the road, up in the air.
yeah.
So.
Same thing.
You know, and it can be done, you know, manually and with the loader.
I mean,
It's just time consuming because a lot of the, you know, the loader can't grab something and pick it up, so it's more gonna be jigging it
I
around,
mean, I thought
rolling it
about
on the
going down
trailer.
with my dad's tractor and with the forks on and, cause I done it before, you can pick the stuff up, but I also think that that's not really a plan.
Right.
And if we
So
come
where
up
you going with it?
I don't
Let's
know,
pick it
I
up.
mean, I would put it on a trailer.
Yeah.
Like I moved it, I cut the tree down behind my house and I moved the trunk pieces, I put them on the trailer, I moved it. My dad's dealing with it now. They're his problem. No, but, so I mean, I think there are some options. I hope, I would like to think we could do it without it costing the town a lot of money.
It shouldn't cost a lot of money. I know one of the guys that he was gonna call would treat us very well. There was another guy that he had approached, not about this stuff, but about something else a while back, and the price was a little scary.
Yeah. As long as we're moving in that direction, I think
Yeah.
it's in the right direction.
You know, it is on Steve's mind again, and he goes, yeah, you know, we probably should have got that a little earlier, but, you know, it just kind of
Stuff happens.
fell behind.
And it didn't look like it was right in the road until snow came. And then
Right.
as soon as snow came in, you started plowing, then you're like, oh, that's like in the road. So,
Yeah, when I drove by the other day, it wasn't as, it was a lot more in the road than I even
Right.
realized.
That's just because they won the banks back a little bit.
Yeah, that could be. But anyway, thank you for jumping on that.
Yeah.
That was,
You know, because Steve did say he probably would have got it a while back, but not having somebody to drive the truck poses a problem for him sometimes.
Okay, thank you. Do you have anything?
I don't,
Jonathan? Okay. I just have a couple of things. Just reading from the previous minutes, jogged my memory. Elena, have you, I know it's been a busy month, we talked about that Gully Brook Bridge and you were going to reach out to, Mike at the county?
oh, yes. So, I actually did talk to him a little bit and he got a lot of grants for a lot of the bridges that they did, but they went through Derigo where we got the culverts from.
Okay.
They did all the engineering, and like, some of them were like 125,000 versus the 250 that we were quoted before, so I'm gonna go through Derigo, like, to see
Okay.
about the engineering and all of that stuff, to see if that's a better route for us.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just a matter of, like, cause I don't think the span is too far to be like a box culvert or something, which is what Derigo does. So it's really, they're the expertise on what should go there,
Sure.
but they're the people that I'm gonna reach out to. And so last Friday I was able to talk to him.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. we will continue that. Any update on the appraisal, the factor evaluation?
I have resent my email to him 3 times. And when Ed was here on Friday, I told him, like, I really need your boss to reach out to me because it's becoming more and more apparent that we need this done. We'll talk about this down at the county tax thing a little bit, but it's something that we desperately need to do,
Yeah,
so.
squeaky wheel, keep calling.
Oh, yes.
Alright, very good. And I have FEMA highlighted here. Oh, do we have like final numbers on what we're getting from FEMA?
I think so, but I got a new project manager recently, my 4th one. So I reached out to her today because the process is very confusing on grants portal. So I think I know what the final numbers are. I just don't know how to make them real. Like, how do I get that money?
Oh,
So, for the fire department side, it's like around 5,700. And then for the road side is around 38,000.
right, that's what-
So those numbers are real numbers and that's what's been obligated.
okay.
So.
It's
Are we
just-
at- so that's good, and I think those are the numbers that we will get. And so I started the closeout process with the 5,000 with cause that was what they call a streamlined project. I don't know how streamlined a year can be, but those are their words, not mine. So, the streamlined project, I've submitted the closeout for, so I think you can draw down after the closeout has been approved.
Hmm.
So I don't know why they use words like that, because closeout to me means we're done with
We're
this now.
done, right.
But I'm not done because I don't have any money. So, but from everything that I've read, you have to close out before you can draw down. So,
All right.
but I reached out to the woman today to give me a more, what's the process like now that
Right.
things have been obligated?
Right. When we get
Wait
them,
another year.
Well, they did tell us 18 months, so we're up to a year now, so 6 more months, we should have our,
we're getting there.
we're getting it.
Squeaky wheel again.
That's right.
Oh, what else? I don't think I had anything else highlighted here.
So I did think of one thing,
Yeah.
Elena and I, met with Brian and Ken immediately before this meeting. And we discussed the process for building permits. I think we decided that the permit that we have is adequate. It's the process, and so everyone that wants to do anything will fill out the paperwork.
Right.
And then Kent will make a determination from there whether it needs a permit or not.
Mhm.
And if it needs a permit, the permit will come to the town office and they will pay for it when they pick it up.
Mhm.
If they don't need a permit, he will notify them in writing.
Mhm.
And all of those records will come to
So
the town
each
office.
letter will get stapled to the building permit application.
Okay.
And we will keep all those applications on file, so if there are questions down the road of, oh, that should have been permitted, or somebody builds a new house and they were told they didn't need a permit, there'll be a paper trail
Right.
in theory of how that happened.
Right. And on those that get permitted, will there also be like explanation of what specifically is
Well,
permitted?
Anything that's on that application would
Okay.
be permitted, and then the
Gotcha, okay.
actual building permit itself has what you can do,
Okay.
like what
So
is.
it will be, everybody that thinks they might need a building permit will apply, and they'll have to describe the project,
Right.
what they're gonna do,
What the
and give all
size
the
is.
information, and then Ken will make a determination if they need a permit or not. Instead of doing that verbally,
Mhm.
which is what's led to
Right, and we won't
some
have
of
that
the
in-
problems. We'll have in writing from the landowner what their intentions are, and then if they change that, then it becomes an enforcement issue. It's not really a permitting issue at that
Right,
point,
right.
if they go off permit.
I mean,
So-
is that gonna include like, you know, stuff that doesn't need a permit.
Right, so the
Like
stuff,
on his third line here, answered questions from prospective property owners about what is permissible.
so what would happen is they would still have to fill out a permit. And then he would write them a letter saying, you don't need a permit to do what you described on your application.
Instead of having that conversation,
Right,
So, okay, so that
they
will
will
be
be told to
anytime,
fill out a
anytime.
permit
anytime, okay.
or an application, and he will, not a permit, they will have to fill out the application before he will have a conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
He won't make verbal determinations.
So anytime, it would be fill out an application. They don't have to pay for it until they get
Right.
till they get the permit. But that's what,
That makes
We're
sense.
hoping that that will alleviate some of the most recent examples where those verbal agreements have come back to bite us. If we take that part out, we'll see.
It's clear.
right,
Thank you. Thanks. Okay, I think we're ready to move on. Town committee reports. Do you have anything for cemetery?
Yeah. We've been very inactive.
It is a
It's a tough
cemetery.
time of year.
Jane was chairman of the cemetery, but she decided to leave that, and so I was once agreed to be chairman.
Yeah.
And so, and we haven't really done much, as we have looked at several places in the cemetery up here that where stones have fallen off the base, and so we need to see what it'll take to get those back on. They're not broken or anything, those two cases, but probably nothing too drastic is gonna happen until spring.
Sounds good.
So did that tree that fell in there get taken care of? Left hand side going up North Guilford? There was a tree that fell down
I didn't see it.
a while back and I just haven't.
Oh, it was a pretty big one. Last I saw it, that was, that was on this side road on the, I don't think it hit any stones, but it was pretty.
Yeah, it was pretty
Yes.
big. I remember
Saw that.
seeing
Yeah,
it
we
and
saw
then I just I totally forgot every
Yeah,
time I
it's been
went
there
by.
for a couple of weeks. I don't know if it's really-
It was one of the maples, right? Isn't it?
We did cut down a bunch of trees up at the cemetery, the Lake Road Cemetery, that were kind of encroaching, and cut some of those down, cleared them out of the way, some of them were dead trees and close to falling down, so. Also want to report from the Historical Society on the condition of the building here. And so last summer at some point, it was noticed that in the museum upstairs, the floor had quite a tilt to it. That's a big floor to be tilting. And so John Wentworth and I investigated, and we found that the wall between where the fire engine is and the rest of the museum had come down a bit. So we put some wedges in on top of that wall to raise the floor back up. And that leveled things out, but obviously there was an additional problem. So we went under the museum and to look at things, and there's some serious issues there. I know some of you looked at it already, you know, with big hunks of slate falling out of the bank into the stream. And beams not even supporting the building in the corner, especially the corner area kind of tilting over, so. I had Jim French look at it, and I contacted Dan Wright of Abbott, who came up to look at it and said he could repair it. By building a wall and putting some slate on the top of that, and, you know, he said that was doable, but obviously we need to talk to the DEP. So I've got a hold of the DEP, and at this point, we got 4 members of the DEP are gonna be here on the 24th at 10 o'clock. That's Dawn Hurd, Jessica Damon, John McNally, and Jessica Sayers. And so they're gonna, and Dan Wright will be here also. So we'll get some feedback from them, what they would allow or whatever. And, then proceed from there.
Well, thank you. I was wondering, like when we had DOP, the sinkholes that are happening out there, how that's related to the
I
whole
think
foundation.
that's related to it all right.
Yeah,
And I told, when I first contacted Jessica Damon, head of this group, I think, and told her that that was an issue, that helped create this issue.
right.
And I talked to a couple of guys that were fixing them, oh, just move the building. Yeah, we'll think about that.
Yeah,
So,
we'll get rid of
That
that.
came from DEP, didn't it?
Yeah,
what's that?
To move the building, that probably came from DEP.
No, it was just one of the workers over there. Yeah.
Sounds like DEP.
So anyway, at first there was only gonna be two of them come here, but now it's Jessica Damon from the Bangor office, then a couple of the local people, then Jessica Sayer, so. I don't know what prompted more people to show up, but
They all wanted a field trip.
we're getting to know those names, aren't we?
Yeah.
I know one
Get out of the office.
I know one of them is very interested in eating at the barbecue, so maybe.
Well, I hope he's open that day.
I hope so. It's a Friday. Well, Dan Wright told me that he thought he could repair it for in the range of $9,000, $8,000 to $10,000, something like that, which shocked me.
Yeah, I was not gonna guess that.
No, I
No.
don't remember.
Now cause that's before the DEP says, oh, well, you can't.
You gotta do
that way,
this
you
and
gotta,
this.
you know, so.
And I wonder, fixing it, like, will we continue to have the problem if the soil and the water is accumulating there?
Yeah.
And then I thought of the whole community resilience monies that are out there. If that's something that we could consider, but that's, I don't know when their next grant
Right.
process is and.
And what their new objectives will be come
Right.
that time.
There's also that law passed this year that for historic sites. And Sandra Hardy said she would look into that to see if there's any avenue there. I haven't heard back from her on that.
Sandra.
I did look into it, and grant funds will not be opening until late in the summer. So we just have to sit tight, and my thinking is if we have spent money on it, perhaps we can get a grant to cover the costs, but I don't know. We can't even ask for another 6 months or so.
Well, this wouldn't happen until in the summer anyway, but
I thought you said July.
Okay.
And that's probably something come springtime, we probably should keep a close eye on, once.
I did ask
Everything
Dan
melts
if he thought there was anything we should do immediately to keep it from getting worse. He said he didn't think so. Not much we could do at this point.
I know when
No.
the engineer came that met with us about the municipal building, he went over and looked.
Yes, he did.
And he thought that the slope off the road also was contributing because it
Yeah.
washes down and erodes that.
I mean,
bank there.
there's pieces of slate almost as big as that table that
Right.
washed into the stream.
Wow.
There are also, beyond where the building is, there was a slate wall on either side of the stream back years ago, and all that slate has fallen in. And I know, Tech had offered to pile it back up where it was at one point, but that wasn't, evidently they didn't want to do that.
Well, if it could be held up with fishing lures, because my son likes to fish down through. He loses a lot of lures, but unfortunately that won't plug the holes.
Thank you.
When did you say that was? When that DEP's coming up?
24th of January,
January?
10 o'clock.
So is that a public meeting?
Anybody can comment, but,
But it's a Friday, I'll be here.
You can meet,
You know.
I'm very
depending on-
curious to meet Jessica Sayers.
Depending on how much snow we have between now and then, it may be very difficult to see,
Right.
but. Now I have pictures that we took when I went under there in a kayak and.
Who's we?
Well, I went in the kayak.
Yeah, John stood up there. I saw this whole thing. John was standing on sound ground and he was under with a kayak.
The pictures include a lot of swear words.
All right, thank you again. Sandra, while you're with us there, do you wanna bring us up to date on both the collaborative committee and the beautification?
I can do that. So at the collaborative meeting last night, it was said by Chantal that she's applying for 2 more grants that may help bring the sculptures to town. And that if the total requested in those grants is granted, then all of the beautification money that we've offered would not be needed. So I suggested that if grant money can be forthcoming to cover the costs, beautification, not reneging on our offer, but we could preserve some of those funds for other uses. So progress is being made on getting the sculptures here, which is a good thing for the town, I think. With respect to beautification, nothing new. We're meeting next week. And I just want to put out there, it wasn't our idea that flag revenue go to the beautification committee. That was somebody else's idea. We weren't going to say no, but that wasn't us. 2 more things. Comp plan, we really, really, really need to get that filed, and I would really, really, really like other eyes on it. So you know who you are, and you're all on this call, so, or in the room.
I did look at it. I went through it.
Just saying. And lastly, and this is a personal thing, is there any progress at all on the lights across the way here at Robinson's that shine in all of our windows brightly?
Kent
That was
is
a good
not
question.
here.
Yeah,
The last, I thought we were,
moving forward with that.
He was having difficulty reaching out or contacting.
Yeah, well, the
me.
last
Going on
contact I
vacation.
had was, they were going to look at shields.
Right.
That was the last.
I was mentioned there was another, one of their stores that has
Yes,
those.
Sandra was telling me about
Yeah.
it. So then I told Val, and Val was texting somebody here in the office, and he said that he was going to be looking into these shields the last time I talked to them, and which was probably the last contact with them. I doubt that Kent has talked with them since.
Okay,
But
yeah,
lights.
put it on your list, all right. I was just thinking about that when I was over there the other day.
Yeah, everybody in the neighborhood is still grumping about it. And it's not really something we want to live with, so let's not let it disappear. Please. Okay, I'm done.
All right, thanks, Sandra. And the last committee we have is recreation.
I really think I stepped back this year, so
Okay.
Dana's lunchtime. I know they just met. And they started the snow roller process, and I couldn't make that meeting, but
Okay.
I think that's where they're at right now.
One question as far as recreation in the gym, on the men's basketball, are they paying to use that? Just because back when we used to always have
Well, it's
men's
supposed to
league,
be,
everybody would bring, $1 or $2,
right.
just a little bit.
No, because it's supposed to be like an open gym for everybody, not just basketball. So as far as
I
like,
thought Wednesday night they had men's basketball.
Well, it's
What do they
a-
call
Is
it?
Steve doing it by himself this
Pretty
year?
much.
Yeah, because he reached out to me and I said, talk to Dana in the town about it, and I don't know where that, but I've seen that he's like.
yeah, he did
public
come in to
events.
talk to me about it.
I don't
You know
think
what?
it's being done through rec.
I mean, I
Yeah.
don't think that, say if you're doing something with kids, that the kid should have to pay $1, or the
Oh, no,
parents
no,
have to
I
pay
know, I
$1,
just-
but like the men's league thing.
Yeah, to me, it was supposed to be like an open gym kind of thing. I didn't realize that it was like men's basketball kind of, cause like the way he made it sound to me, it was like he would just open the gym so people, if they want to come play basketball on Wednesday nights, they can. Is that,
Yeah,
Okay,
that's totally the way it was.
so it wasn't like the pickleballers have their group of people, I think this was kind of open to anybody in town. If they wanted to come and use the gym for on
Pickleballers
Wednesday.
pay?
They kind of do like donations and stuff, yeah.
They collect money in every week, I think, and then Sally once in a while brings in a bunch of money. Today she brought in a check for $60.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the way it
So,
always used to be. It wasn't like, you know, the town was trying to get rich off it. If you wanted to go up and play basketball during that night, everybody paid $1 or $2.
Right. Yeah, I didn't even think about it, honestly. It just, he asked if he could have like an open gym on Wednesday nights again. And I was like, I don't see why not. And so that's just kind of how that went. I didn't really think about asking, but I can.
Question, who's he?
Steve Bro,
Steve what?
Bro,
Bro.
So we have a gym use policy or,
yeah, if like they're renting the gym, so
yeah,
to speak, but he's more like opening it so that anybody in town can
okay.
Right,
use it.
sort of like,
Yeah, that's what you guys used to do,
What
We
right?
did it kind of, last year's officially like a rec,
Right.
Right.
a rec sponsored
Right.
open gym night on
Well,
Wednesdays.
he approached me if the rec committee was gonna do this, and I said, well, we don't really have anybody that would open the gym and close the gym right now for that kind of thing, and so he's like, well, can I do it? And so that's kind of how that,
And it never was a rec committee thing. It was always, you know, actually, most of the time it was Dustin Lander, because his mother was on the rec committee and she
well,
had the
last,
key.
last
He'd
year
get the
they
key and a
did.
bunch of us would go up and play.
Yeah, last year they did an open gym through the rec department, so he was wondering if we were gonna do that again, and I was like, well, we don't really have a rec person right now, or,
Why don't we sign them up?
Well, I was
Yeah.
just maybe just act like Ag seems rec committee and have him.
right,
I mean, because as of right now, and like I said, I've taken a step, I just can't, I have too much going on this year, so Dana's kind of, she's the new chair of rec committee. So I don't know what they've talked about,
Mhm.
but I mean, we have some people that just kind of are, like Dave Gray, for example, is on the rec committee, but he pretty much only does like the games for like Summerfest and snow rollers, so that was just his thing on the rec committee, cause he really likes having the basketball night, so.
yeah,
I think that makes sense, but it is sometimes unclear, like. Is the gym open for resident use? Like, if I just wanna take the kids up to use the gym. Just because it's a rainy day in the spring, like, without having to, like, do we have to rent it? Or, because I know like that was a question last year, like, I think Stacy took a bunch of boys at your house one day and it was a rainy day and she took them up to play. We had the open gym, so it wasn't like an open gym
right.
day.
Yeah, Justin's boys have come and.
Yeah,
We just let them in and.
Yeah, I mean, I think it works well and people take care of it. I just don't, I
Yeah.
think sometimes people don't know what the policy is or like, when does
we
it
always
become like
used
a.
to, when I was a kid, if we wanted it, I would go see Gail Allen or Jenny Lander and pay, I really think it was $1. That I had to pay and get the key, and we could go use it when we wanted to.
Right.
Every rec committee member had a key, I think,
Right.
and so.
I think it'd be nice if the kids in town, people in town knew that that was available, but like, if they were like, so they don't have to know if we don't have an open gym time, cause it doesn't work for everybody.
Right.
Anyway, certain times, so.
Right,
Can we put a donation box up there?
Just gonna say.
Yeah.
And that money could go for the roof.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what, a question I was gonna ask, and I've heard of open gym, whatever that is. In other words, you come and go and you don't have to pay anything, but I don't think there's any harm. $1 is nothing nowadays.
right,
No.
the donation box sounds like it could really work, because it could be something like, the pickleballers could even do that, instead of having to collect it, put it into check form, then transfer it to us,
Right.
and,
I mean,
and go
help
from
keep
there.
the heat and the lights on.
Yeah,
yeah,
but I don't mean to be a Doubting Thomas or anything like that, but, you know, just because you put a donation box up there doesn't mean anybody's gonna put anything in it.
well, no,
I think it should be kind of. I don't like using the word mandatory, a buck to go up, for individual to play basketball for a couple of hours is not unreasonable.
yeah,
And it also, I mean, it's, to me, it looks like unless you rent it out for a wedding or something like that, that people, it pretty much, anybody can use it for free. And you have to consider
Right,
that
Well,
it
yeah.
costs something to maintain it,
right.
lights and upkeep.
Where.
And it's reasonable, if the people are gonna use it, whether it's out of town or in town. Hey, give us your dollar.
I saw an ad on TV the other day where they said you need to resurface the floor every year.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they recommend.
We've skipped it a few days.
Would it, this is just throwing out a brainstorming idea, would it be helpful in any way or get people's attention or sympathy if, you know, when we have those fundraising thermometers, you know, like we need this for to repair the gym roof and post it up there alongside a donation box in addition to.
I think that's
asking
cool.
them to
That might
pay.
encourage.
Cause it's a visual.
A visual,
You can
right?
say $18,000, but if you see it on the thing.
Right,
I
and
like the idea, we could put a mannequin of Jimmy.
you keep saying
Get
that.
Jimmy off the roof.
But if people see that, you know, this is why we are asking for your donations and.
Yeah.
Anyway. We went down a rabbit hole somehow, I think. No, okay.
Yeah, I don't even remember where we're at.
It was recreation, I'm sorry.
Oh, recreation,
Okay,
okay, I was gonna
alright.
say.
Very good.
Sorry.
No, it's important stuff. All right, on to the CEO report.
Yeah, there's.
So to answer your email from the other day,
Mm,
no, I have not had a second yet.
all right.
But given this particular report, I definitely have some ground to stand on,
Okay,
so.
we will continue that. All right. Old business, UGE solar development.
What's the CE?
Good evening, everyone. Thanks, Sue. Thanks, Helena. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, perfect. And I'm not sure if it'll allow me. I had like just a few. Am I allowed to share my screen, or is that not really worthwhile?
Well, I could see it, but everybody else might not be able to see it.
Gotcha. Well, I won't bother. It was, I just had a few pictures. I'll kind of tell the story to ourselves here, and there's some pretty pictures if anyone wants to see. I could send them after, but just as a quick reminder to why myself and a few colleagues are on the phone as well, or on the Zoom call. So, you know, thanks all for having us here. So on North Guilford Road, in about, now it's been about 4 or 5 years, just so you know, in that time frame, Tyler Adkins, who you know, born and raised in Monson, he he was working at UG at the time, and we built a small community solar array on North Guilford Road. It's been operating for in the neighborhood of 4 years or so. Not sure how familiar people are with the concept of community solar, but in essence, a solar project's built. Energy is, people can sign up to purchase a portion of the energy. It goes against your energy bill, and usually you save something like 15% or what have you off your energy bill, and you're supporting clean energy at the same time. So that's the idea. I don't know that anyone's confirmed this, but our belief is that that project on North Guilford Road was actually the first community solar project in Maine. So not just in Monson, but in Maine. So really nice. That'd be some of the nice pictures I would share if I could. But it's there. Feel free to drive by. So, you know, so what we did after that is Tyler actually acquired some land across the road, so also on North Guilford Road, and we started down the path of doing another solar project there. Little bit of backstory in Maine, like when the program first came out, I believe that was in 2019, there was a certain cap on how large a project needs to be. Community solar is just that, community. It's meant to be smaller size. But that cap was actually decreased twice from there. So, you know, the actual size of a community solar project is quite small. It's a little bit larger than the one across the road on North Guilford Road, but there was a project across the road there that we started building. So you can't actually really see it from the road because it's behind a house there. If you were to drive by, you wouldn't actually be able to see the system once it's completed. But we started going down that path. Now, you guys talked about the tree that CMP had left by the road. Utilities aren't always the most popular, and they take a long time to work through the interconnection process of getting approval to connect a project. So we cleared the site to build the project. We did some other preparation works, and we were going through the interconnection process, and then which has now been approved. So we actually have an interconnection agreement in hand with CMP to connect the project, and so we're ready to complete the construction of it. We've spent upwards of about $700,000 on the project so far, not including the cost of the land. But of course the ordinance came out, and so just in terms of being prudent about our capital, we of course want to confirm that we're treated like an existing project, which is the term used in the ordinance. And it's and so that's really, I'd say, our goal of being here tonight is to describe the background and describe what we're hoping to achieve to talk about that. And so being treated like an existing project, we'd be able to complete this project this year. It would provide about 100 households with cheaper energy. So anybody who would like to subscribe to it could, and typically save about 15% off their energy bill. The ordinance, I think, does a good job of protecting, like providing a buffer from the road. So there'd be a 100-foot setback. You wouldn't be able to see it. It'd be behind trees. The site's actually already cleared, so there wouldn't be a matter of cutting down trees or anything to complete that project, and so on. So, I know our council had been briefly in touch with the town council. Before going further down that path to try to work things out, we thought, hey, like we like to think we're collaborative, friendly people. Last time I was on the Zoom call, I talked about being up there for Snow Roller Day, which I just heard on the rec committee back a number of years back, and wish I could be up there again here soon. So that's kind of the background. I'm sure there's questions, thoughts, any thoughts that come back, I'd be happy to hear. But really just looking to have a discussion about where we think the project's at, hear the select board's comments as well, and then think about the path forward from here.
Thank you, Nick.
So,
Yeah,
yeah, this would really be a chance to discuss, and I think that we're all really on the same page.
yeah. I don't know how to start this. I was just going back to the ordinance.
Oh, yeah.
I was looking for. And I might be confused. Is there a definition in the?
Yes, there
approved
is.
one?
As far as the existing,
Yeah,
yes, there is.
yeah, I was just trying to find that.
Give us just a second.
And I know, Sue, if it's helpful, feel free to cut me off if it's not, but if it's helpful, I know that in the definition of existing project, it mentions a completed project in that definition. So that might be what you're trying to find. And again, feel free to cut my mic if not. When we read it, we say that's an example of an existing project, but it doesn't say that an in construction project wouldn't be existing too. And unfortunately, that's a position we find ourselves in, right? Is that we'd spent quite a bit of money underway on the project, and just the nature of how slow these things move with utilities, we're kind of caught in limbo where we're out quite a bit of money, hypothetically, maybe an unprudent company would, imprudent, someone help me with the definition there, or the word there, but maybe they would just plow ahead, but we want to be good stewards of the town, and everything else in the environment, and so that's why we want to work together to figure out what the path forward might be.
Now, I know you said that you just got your interconnect agreement. What was the date when you had finally received that?
But the date we received it, the date, now Isaac on the phone, you probably know, feel free to message me or blurt it out. It was within 2024, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, slight correction there. As Nick had mentioned, there were downsizes due to the program. So the initial interconnection agreement for the system that we're not building, that would have been a larger system, was in 2020. So we had pretty much started then, but then it was when we were trying to reduce, then we got the smaller 1 megawatt interconnection agreement back in October 2023. That had been submitted prior to the moratorium slash ordinance development passage. I believe that was in June of that year. So we were sort of in this waiting period, and then we got it back just shortly after discovering the moratorium.
Thanks, Isaac.
How did you discover what do you mean by discovered the moratorium?
So
oh, go ahead, Isaac.
So we had previously, again, I understand there was some change within the local town government, but we had previously seen, well, we had previous employees had gotten approval from the town manager from 2021, and when we pretty much got that reduced size interconnection agreement back, I gave the CEO a call just to sort of check in on the status of that, and I was then told that there was a moratorium which was not available online. So
Can I
that's, yeah.
ask you to pause just for a second? So the process for that moratorium was started by the chairman of the select board, that was Tyler Atkins. So he's the one that introduced the moratorium and passed the moratorium. So I don't know, I believe he was also an employee of yours at that time. So I'm a bit confused that you guys weren't aware that moratorium was actually in place.
Yeah, and if I could take that, it's not that we became aware of it as it came in place. I think that now I don't know if the moratorium it defined existing project or not, but we were already, as Isaac laid out there, in the number of years in this process of working through the development of the project. I think our lawyer says because we already had the permit, the moratorium didn't necessarily need to apply for us, but we're trying to, instead of, I think we're trying to be collaborative in terms of what the path forward might be, because we had, again, already started the process at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, but Tyler Adkins, he was an employee at the same time that he was on the select board. Would also call Tyler a friend, even though he's moved on to local solar in Maine now, and is not at UGE. But you're right that Tyler was a member of the team at that point.
Yeah.
So what was the date that you got the interconnection agreement in?
October of 23. Yeah.
What date exactly in October, do you know?
We could definitely get it. Isaac, feel free to say it or message me if you have that specific date.
It was the 4th.
October 4th?
Yes, that's right.
Of 23?
Correct.
Yeah.
I had it, now I lost it again in there. Sorry, oh, there it is, okay. So I guess my other question is the project considered complete at this point?
Yeah, it's not complete at this point. In essence, so we got the interconnection, the moratorium was underway. And I think guidance we unofficially received around that time frame was, I think the moratorium was for 6 months, if I'm not mistaken. I think it came in June of 23. I think it was extended twice, if I'm not mistaken. And so we were sort of in limbo about, we could plow forward, but we want to be prudent. The ordinance, of course, finally did come out and was passed. And so now that with that out there, and the dust settled, we're looking to be treated like an existing project. There is, by the way, like, for example, the planning board could provide a variance a variance on for a permit or what have you. There is other paths as well, but we just thought that was the easiest, just to talk directly to the select board.
Right, and we're obligated to go by the ordinance, of course, and that's why I'm looking at it. An existing system is defined here as shall include any solar system that is complete and is connected to the grid when this ordinance goes into effect. And the ordinance took effect on October 17th of 2024. So there's that word "and" there. So I know you have the interconnection agreement, but I don't know what defines complete.
Well, I think, Sue, if I may, I think one of the words I would point out was include. So it says the existing project includes a completed project, and I think that's reasonable. That's an example of a completed project. But I think it's also reasonable to say that you have an existing project if you've started work on your project.
Now, that leaves quite a bit of gray area, because a lot of people could just say, well, I cut down, this 1 acre at my house, and so it's a project started. There was a few people that actually said the same thing. That they had done some work and they were thinking of doing solar.
Yeah.
And then if you're going by that theory, then pretty much anybody could just say, well, I've started the project 5 years ago and I just haven't got around to it.
Yeah, I think it's a fairly fair point. I think not knowing the details of those other ones, I know in our case, we have documented expenses close to $700,000, which I think is quite material for a cost that, the project, will end up costing us maybe 2-3 times that. But like we've put quite a bit of money into it, including equipment payments and interconnection payments, etc. And then sorry, I may have had another point, but I guess maybe the other thing I was going to say is that with the IRS, and this is a totally different subject, but the IRS, there's actually very well-defined rules that we work through all the time in terms of, has a project started construction? Is it actually underway? I'll just say from that perspective, the guidelines actually only 5% of the expenses. And so, if someone's anyway, we could come up with examples of someone building a house or building a commercial building or what have you. Maybe cutting down one tree wouldn't be sufficient, but spending a third or a half of the project's cost, I think, would be. Do you mind if I take a different tack and just ask, I think you guys don't want to, if I'm just assuming, you don't want to open up a hornet's nest. So there's that aspect. Is there any other reason why you'd be resistant to the project?
I think the community, so I'm not sure how familiar you are with what actually happened in the process. An ordinance was brought forward with a carve out that was specifically introduced to the ordinance by Tyler that would have exempted your project from the ordinance. And the town rejected that version of the ordinance. They went back to the drawing board, they removed, the only thing they did was they changed one setback, they increased one setback, and they took out the carve out for your project, essentially, for any project that was underway and had an interconnect agreement. And the town overwhelmingly voted in support of the ordinance. And so it was fairly clear at that time that the community wanted to protect the rural residential zone and did not want solar development in that zone. Our planning documents require that rural residential zone be protected and kept in traditional uses of forestry, agriculture, and recreation. And I believe that's why the community voted the way they did initially and then voted in support of the ordinance, the second version of the ordinance. And so, I mean, as select board members, we are representatives of the people of this town. We don't get to just throw out what the town would like us to do. We have to
Yeah.
take under very clear advisement. I mean,
I would just add to that, equally, if not more important, is we have an ordinance and, you know, I just feel that that's our legal document that guides us. I think, Nick, your previous statement that, you know, pursuing the process through the planning board in the permitting process is probably the best route to go at this point. And yeah,
Yeah, we do have a permit right now, I'll say that, you know, or not a permit, sorry, but we do have approval. Funnily enough, an earlier part of the conversation touched on this point, that we have an email approving to build the project and saying a permit was not necessary, to correct my words there. We can certainly go down that path. I think, and you're absolutely right, like, yourselves know your town best, and I recognize that. You know, a couple things I would say is that I think a carve out, the carve out as I understood it, was a carve out for projects of that type. And so if I'm a member of the town, then I'm worried that it's opening a window that maybe other people will try to get through too. And so, you know, I think there might be other ways to interpret how that voting went through the couple takes on the ordinance. I don't know. We can certainly try going down the path of getting a variance. We can certainly try that. I will say that, like, because we've already done the site works to clear trees and what have you, I would argue, I like solar, but I would argue that we would improve the land by completing the project as opposed to leaving it bare as it currently is. And then, you know, you know, we've spent a good amount of time with our lawyers looking into it and so on. There's a constitutional right that we have deemed right from having approval to build this and starting construction on it and so on, even though the ordinance is in. So, you know, if the select board wants to shut this down tonight, we will unfortunately have no choice except to go both a legal route. We can try a planning board route as well, but we're out $700,000 of, you know, cash on this project, and about half of that, or a little more, is actually funded by a bank that's breathing down our neck, asking ourselves how we're going to get that money back. So, you know, we're listening very closely in terms of, hey, how might we be able to help out with some of these things in the town? We want to help the town in any way that we can, but unless there's any other discussion, I think we're going to need to take it back to our side here, unfortunately.
I think, you know, we've been dealing with some other permitting questions tonight, and, you know, permits that aren't, where there's no actual material progress, expire. They don't have an unlimited life. They get stale and die. For our building in our building code, our building ordinance, land use ordinance, it's 6 months. If you don't have any material progress in 6 months, your permit is null and void. I understand the argument. You guys made it through your lawyer, and you got a response from our lawyer. I think we're at a point where I think you guys have to follow the process that's outlined in the ordinance.
Yeah, and yeah, so you know, I'll just say a couple things again. I mean, you know, we do have vested rights from the work that we've done. This is not stale. We've been moving this forward at the very best rate that we possibly can. But we do have a response to the town lawyer that's ready to go. We wanted to have these conversations first. I'll say again, like, this project would give up to 100 households, not just in Monson, but in the area, a chance to save on their energy bills. It would provide tax income to the area as well. there's really literally no downside to this project moving forward. And so we'll leave it with yourselves tonight. We don't want to be a cog in the wheel here for the rest of your meeting. We'll get back to your town lawyer. We'll consider the possibility of going down the asking for a variance as well. And we're always here for any further conversations about how yourselves, if you yourselves have any other ideas on how the town would find this project acceptable, we are ears wide open, ready to hear. We're not trying to be a pain in the butt here.
Thank you very much, Nick. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good rest of your meeting.
You as well.
You too.
Thanks. Okay. On to the next one. We have CEO permitting it.
I think we kind of talked about
about
that in our select board reports part.
Snowplow contract.
I had asked Chad to attend, and unfortunately he was not able to make it tonight. But I was able to put together a list of what surrounding towns are paying per mile for snow plowing. To just give you guys a generic, and if it's helpful for me to sit down and talk with Chad independently instead of coming to a meeting, that could be a route that we take as well.
How many miles does our town have? 27?
I have had a person approach me who, if we do decide to put it back out to bid, is interested in bidding on it.
So, we have until March to extend the contract or put it out to bid. As it's written in our contract now anyways. I do think that if we do put it back out to bid, revamping the contract a little bit could be wise and could help us a little bit. I mean, the contract that we have right now, I also put together, but it was my very first snow plowing contract ever, and I just
Sorry
took,
about those things I said about it then.
and I just took the previous contract and just went with it because I wasn't aware of what I am now, so.
Now, I think also too, I mean, you're always gonna learn, or you don't foresee all the different bumps you can come across in the long way. And I think having, like you were saying, a contract with a little more detail and some things change would kind of give us an upper hand when it comes to negotiating with somebody as far as the job that they do.
You just had very clear,
Which it shouldn't have to be like that. You shouldn't have to say, well, I want you out at this time when there's this, and you gotta be out when there's this, and you gotta be out when there's this. Just something a little more specific, some more specifics.
Then what was the, if we extended it, we were talking last meeting and I couldn't remember what that would have been.
It went up like 6,000, so it's,
Cost?
yeah.
It'd be 240.
240.
But that's not this year.
Huh?
240 wasn't this year. No.
This year is 230.
We went through this the last.
I know. But this time, I know. we have it.
43?
Huh?
43?
240.
This year is 234.
234. Right, so then it went up 6,000 to 240.
240, okay.
Oh, wow, we're all 27 and a half. 27 and a half. Monson?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't do all of, I don't know, it's 27 and a half miles.
So,
only 27 miles of road. I mean, for all the roads, they don't do the work.
No. So maybe that should be something else we look at, is kind of recalculating exactly how many
How many
miles of road.
miles? Yeah,
We go on a field trip with Leah.
and then do I understand we don't plow from? Is it part of North Guilford that's done?
it,
Or we plow to
To the
150?
town line.
Yeah,
we
or-
can, to the town line.
Which is kind of right on the hill.
yeah,
And then there used to be a switch off for the Blanchard end of things, but they don't switch off anymore because the person that is doing Blanchard doesn't want to make that switch, because then they're plowing more dirt road than when they can be plowing paved road.
okay, all right.
So,
I thought there were years ago, somebody mentioned that we plow North Guilford to 150 and then,
I think there was some
There probably
arrangements
was
with
at
different
some point.
contractors.
but we don't do that anymore. Okay,
They swapped that off with Abbott, and Abbott picked up out of Barrows Falls Road.
okay,
And they was in Blanchard, we went down over the hill, and that picked up another part of it. It turned out that we owed Reggie for 7/10 of a mile or something like that. It didn't all add up. And for some reason or other, somebody had a fight with Abbott, so they built a new turnaround. I don't know. I heard it was a town man. I don't know which one. I know it wasn't Wayne.
nope, that wasn't me.
I think Elaine, if your suggestion of talking with Chad.
Yeah.
And.
And maybe one of you, maybe Aaron, since he's on the road committee, maybe we'll sit down and have a group discussion with the two of us and him, and maybe even Steve. Just to reiterate that we really want to make this relationship work, but it has to work for both sides.
Yeah.
I feel like that's really what we need to get our,
And share some of the input from, that you've gotten from residents, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think most of it is already known
I
to
think it's
That
maybe just a stern.
large amount of money, I mean, that's $250,000.
And that's one thing I think we need to look at, as far as doing the agreement and everything, the contract is not giving out that huge lump sum
In the
in
beginning.
October.
Right.
And because
That used
then
to be given out in the last payment, that used to be.
I think it should be broken up equally, so you're gonna get this much and that'll get you up to, the first month, and then, because you give somebody that big chunk and say they just go AWOL. In
Then
the
you don't-
contract, it says you can pay a new contractor the remaining money for the rest of the season. Well, nobody in their right mind is gonna plow for half a season for a quarter season's pay.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good,
And I understand probably some of them want it so that they can put the money into their equipment.
That's why it got changed to begin with, because when he first got the contract, he didn't have any equipment. So that was an arrangement that we made with him so that he could get trucks and things, and then it just stayed that way going forward
Interesting, I didn't know that.
for maintenance purposes and
Yeah,
all that.
okay. All right,
so yeah, I think that's a good plan, and then when I have some feedback to give you, I will give it to you, and then we can discuss it in March and really make our final decision whether it's going back out to bid or. And that way we'll also be mostly through the snow plowing season, and it will kind of give us the feedback that we really.
True. Good plan. Thank you.
So are you suggesting that it just be all equal payments? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with maybe little bit higher on the front end, like you said, just to kind of make sure their stuff is all done, which I mean, any contractor should continually maintain their stuff, but given just enough so that if it does come to, you know, reneging on a contract, and getting somebody, that the money is there, that somebody would potentially pick it up. Not that there's a lot to choose from, but.
All right. Municipal building grant update, more than you had before, at the beginning of the meeting.
Yeah.
Great.
So I printed out all of us lovely pictures, and it's a little bit easier to see than trying to. Yeah. Yeah, I have a couple extras too, actually. Yeah.
Make sure you have your glass.
Yeah, make sure you got your spectacles out. I only printed out one of the outside because I figured we could all kind of just be like, yeah, that's the outside of the building.
That's the part, it's gonna look pretty.
Yeah. The only thing that I can see that I would change is the fact that the meeting room itself does not have a bathroom. So we want this meeting room to be accessible from
Right. Good point.
the other side, and so these two doors would be locked and they wouldn't have access to that bathroom in the town office. So that's the only thing that I could see that I would change. He did a really good job with trying to put everything that we wanted without going too ridiculous, because he has the showers, but he has them shared with Public Works and the fire station so that we're not overdoing it. And then he has the kitchen, but it's shared with the fire station so that if they wanna do hunters breakfasts or something, they could do that. They'll have access from both sides, but not access into the town office.
Right.
And then same with Public Works. Public Works has access to the showers and the bathroom and whatever, but they also have like their own storage away from the fire station. And then they have, each person has their own, well, actually, the fire station has quite a few different entrances. And so this was thinking of like the next 50 years plus. And so thinking of that, the smaller ones were, the smaller bay over here was more for like, if they had like a pickup truck or something like that, those are the 10-foot doors versus over here, the 14-foot doors. That was definitely something we stressed. We needed big doors and big ceilings. And so because of that, I know that you guys got my email that the engineer had recommended that we find a new lot to build on, because due to shoreline zoning restrictions, we can't go any higher than what we're at right now, which, as we know, is not serving its purpose. And we can't go any bigger, so we're pretty limited on what we can do with this. That being said, I called Libra today, the head people at Libra today, and they are going to talk amongst themselves to see if they're willing to sell us anything. They said that he really is unsure about if they would sell the park down here, because they really like it as a park. It's very pretty. And I think that we could also keep it a park and make it look very pretty with a building.
Well, and there's another lot
Right,
kind of beside the park,
right.
and
That's a big.
And they bought the Michigan lot too.
And they bought the Michigan lot too,
Yeah.
so that's what I'm thinking, like, and so when I told Sue Deloya that to really try to sell it as we would keep it, that corner lot as a park, and then just build the municipal, we'd have to build it further away anyways, because we wouldn't want an entrance directly on that corner anyways, especially with a fire truck.
And I do think, I mean, that would be nice, having your town office kind of next to a park. It would be more welcoming
Right,
for people.
right. So, that,
Create a fence between the bright lights at Robinson's.
I know, I thought of that
Did you
too.
say what you did? I can't hear you. What did you just
I
say?
said it would create a buffer between the bright lights of Robinson and the neighborhood.
Yeah, but then we'd have to have our own bright lights.
I was gonna say, we have
closer
to the light
I
board
know.
now.
Yeah, we.
Sorry,
would.
Cindy,
Well,
Red.
houses,
Try to
lights.
solve it.
No, no bright lights, no bright lights.
So, and then Lori Vonio actually reached out to me today. And, he would be potentially interested in selling us a portion of land on the Greenville Road. In exchange for the transfer station,
In
Exchange
exchange,
for what?
for the transfer station. So and he would give us a 10-year lease on the transfer station and not make us pay any rent for 10 years, as long as he didn't have to pay property taxes on that piece of property.
It sounds
for 10
like the
years.
game of Monopoly.
And I thought,
Is that what it
would
is?
you
Is it
still
only
be
one
willing to
side?
sell it to us even if we did not do the exchange? And he said, probably, depending on the number. But he really wants the transfer station. And I'm like, we need the transfer station, we can't.
so he wants to take it over after 10 years?
He wants to have it and we move.
Why?
Where are we gonna move?
I don't know.
He wants to have it removed?
The transfer station to go away somewhere else and then he can have that land. That's what he wants.
What
Well,
about the sand?
Transfer station down.
right. So maybe we could give him the rest of the land and just keep the transfers where the transfer station sits. I don't know. But there was a very brief conversation about,
Where is his land on Greenville Road? Is
Um,
it just beyond the old store there?
Yes.
Okay.
yes. And so there's a 1 acre lot there. And then there's a 21 and a half acre lot. So I told him the 1 acre is not big enough, so he'd have to give us like 4 acres out of his 21 and a half acres. And he said that he'd potentially be willing to do that. And then he also, suggested to me that there's 127 acres that John Moore owns that we could potentially buy too. And I was like,
About 10,
on-
way
way
on the
up,
backside,
it's
10,
out of
almost
town.
half.
yeah, like almost down.
Yeah.
And
In your email, you mentioned it was, the town owns something on Tenny?
yes, so then there's a tax acquired property that is on Tenny Hill, which we would have to like get a clean deed and all of that for that property. It's so the
Just up the road from my parents on the left where Kent
The yellow?
Bishop used to live,
Oh,
behind there.
behind it, yeah.
oh,
So there's a right of way between Jason Smith's and that Bishop house that now Lieber owns that Bishop house.
oh.
So that was another piece of property that I inquired about through Libra today. Because if we got that piece and then had that front piece, that would be enough for what we need to do.
That piece has, Bishop lot has a septic system and a well.
Okay.
I mean, it's a design system, it's not.
Right.
It's not an old Volkswagen in a hole. It's not an old Volkswagen in a hole.
No. I haven't seen that.
Probably a time or two. But, so that's another avenue to go, and I also, just a quick Google search as to what's for sale. There's, 10 acres for 25 Tenny Hill Road. So it must be in the same vicinity,
25,
I can't
That's how
picture where that
10
would
acres
be.
for how much?
80,000.
No, that's Lieber's property down on the water, Daisy Lane.
Is that 10 acres down there?
Oh,
Thinking so.
I can't picture that being, I didn't
This
think it was
doesn't say anything about water though.
But, is it 10?
Yeah,
25.
25 has to be,
that's what the number says, but I feel like they don't know because everybody
that-
gives them their
No,
own.
that's wrong, because some of the Lieber's houses are like 48, 30, 36, 48.
And Jason
Right.
Smith's is like one something.
Yeah, my parents is 103.
Right.
So I think there's maybe.
So
a
I think
typo in
I think
listing.
the address is wrong, but it is on Tenny Hill. And if you just, like, it's on Zillow, so,
It's on the internet, it must be. zero.
yeah.
I'm just looking at our assessment map here.
So it says that it is,
Junky old boy.
What's the number again, 25?
yeah, that's what it says.
No, I know, but they mentioned Greenville a lot. That's where it is. They own the mineral rights underneath it.
Yeah, because going up past
Anyone-
Blanchard, those are the
And he
80s.
won't sell,
So
they won't sell.
the-
You don't lease land.
this is what the entrance looks like.
That's the one they're talking about, he's going to sell it.
That's down by the fin hall.
So that's not 25.
So,
Oh, is that the weird one? Wasn't there one with a weird address way down there?
I'll tell you,
24 is.
That
the-
isn't Jay McLaughlin's, is it?
I don't know,
How many acres?
10. So what is
Jay
it?
It's not
McLaughlin's is
24,
behind the
24 is
fin
the.
Who's
corner.
that?
Can you zoom in?
That's, right across from Dayton's.
So let's
You
look at,
got that plastic on the front.
So,
I don't know what his name is.
so they don't recommend putting anything in where it is now.
That sounds like Jay McLaughlin's land, 'cause his land's behind
who's
it.
that? Cause it's right next door, it's right here. This is the property, cause if I go,
What's it near?
That's the entrance to the fin hall right
Yeah.
there.
okay,
I'll bet that's Jay's land. He's had that for sale for a long time. But I thought it was bigger than 10 acres.
maybe he
I
split
thought it
some
was like
land and then,
110 acres.
well, this says 10 acres for 79,000.
I don't know, it seems
That
like
don't sound
Woodley
like
wants
Jay.
to keep it closer
So
to,
yeah, I think it should be
Yeah.
more centered to 10.
would be ideal.
Right. So, yeah. That being said, I think at least we have a couple of options right now.
Owns the old Sal's R&R store on Greenville Road that's half demolished.
That's Randy Roller, I believe, the guy that has the house right next to it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was all one lot
Oh,
there.
Yeah. Cause I know
Okay.
he's been working on that building.
okay. I don't know what their plans were for that.
I don't know what the plan is, but
So as far as the actual like design of the building, do you guys have any input?
I think your note about the bathroom in the meeting room, definitely. I assume the office staff have kind of looked this over and.
Yeah.
Okay,
And I've shared this with the fire department.
yeah.
the
And-
laundry in the fire department, that would include an extractor or whatever
Yeah.
they need to do their gear, right?
Yeah.
Cleaning Gear, good.
Where they go to Dover now or
what are the
something?
dimensions of the meeting room? Is
Yeah,
there a
I
place where
thought,
they
why don't you just get them all?
Right.
And they're like 30 grand. It's like a special wash.
Oh,
I think that is
Is there a meeting?
56.
A meeting on, they said, right?
That's
Is
pretty
there a
good.
tonight? Long?
But I would assume there's gonna be
531.
a website where you could probably get some of that equipment, you know, a lot of these departments are buying new stuff
Right,
every
This
year.
year's probably
yeah, they probably are.
2060.
Oh, I told him I wanted it for 150 people.
Yeah, so.
I can't think of anything right now.
Cause I just want to be able to give him like some feedback, cause I haven't responded to his email since he sent this.
I thought that this car in this one bay was a police car, cause I keep saying we should deputize Marty.
It's like
Well-
my little buggy.
Yeah, I just, it looks good, the footprint, is just. I'm trying to visualize that on land,
Right.
It's large.
yeah,
So is this gonna be all on one level?
yes,
If it's on two, you have to put an elevator.
and that's a lot,
You
more-
have to put an elevator in if it's
Yeah.
on two.
yeah, and that's what, 50,000?
At least,
Yeah,
minimum.
so we went with one floor.
Yeah. Is there gonna be a hose tower?
There's a
No,
hose
seriously, you dry
dryer.
your hoses out.
Yeah, there's room for a hose dryer in the fire station.
Okay, so I don't know what that is,
I
but
don't know either, but they talked about it anyway.
Blows warm air through the hose. and-
Yeah, something.
It's a hair dryer, just hooked up to.
Right, there you go.
Yeah, they roll them out in front of the
Right,
trunks.
right.
So one other lot I just happened to think of. That was up for sale earlier, I don't know who owns it now, but it's a corner lot down here. Duquette's owned it, and I think they were trying to sell it.
Yeah, that connects onto the 10-acre lot that's out in the back.
Yeah.
And the
Because
LHL Foundation.
The guy
I-
contacted me
Edie Smith
back
was
when I was
supposed to.
CEO, and he wanted to put a solar farm.
Cause we don't necessarily have to just look at stuff for sale, sometimes if you just call somebody up and say, hey, we're interested in this property, would you be interested in selling it?
Right.
Mm.
So,
So I'm sorry, Edie Smith was gonna.
yeah, so
contact-
Edie Smith was supposed to give me a contact for the Ellisville Foundation because I haven't made any headway with them at all. But, I will reach out to her again to see if,
The only access to that 10-acre piece is through that corner lot that was separate. And that's why, I think that's why Duquette bought that, because he didn't have any, it was landlocked. There's no, you can't get out on Route 15.
No, but that abuts the town lot, doesn't it?
I think. For sure.
where is that?
It's down here. On Water Street.
Okay,
On the, just after you turn the corner on Chapin Avenue. There's that house, then there's an empty.
Yeah,
I know what you're
okay.
talking about.
yeah,
You can tell the Duquette's own the lot, at least at one point.
yeah,
Just by looking at it.
I would certainly be.
There's a lot to Elliottville Plantation owns too.
Yes.
That's,
Yeah,
do you have a contact for them by any chance?
Oh, yeah.
Do you really? Oh my gosh.
And
Do you-
good luck.
Elliottville Plantation.
Do you care to share that contact with me?
Yeah.
Okay, because I would love to reach out to them because they own right across the street too, and then that butts up to the utilities district land.
Yep.
So we could potentially do something there too. If they were to be willing to sell it.
Well, we talked to them, the Historical Society talked to them about putting a little tiny building on it to house the snow roll. That was removable anytime. And what they said is, we have plans for that land, we just don't know what they are. But they don't include a snow roll.
probably a municipal building either.
Probably a municipal.
Was that
must be
back,
what it was.
was that back when Roxanne was kind of running things, or
No.
was that Son?
No, so.
Son?
But it doesn't hurt to ask.
But it doesn't hurt to ask, and they're gonna, like, during this feasibility study that we have to do eventually, they're gonna wanna know that we talked to them
Right.
anyways, so.
Mark and Susan Adams.
That lot has town water and town sewer.
Right, right.
Mark and Susan Adams are the ones that, they're representative in Monson area.
Okay,
And of course Lucas St. Clair was the head of the group, and they've been busy with the thing up in Vermont, or, by Pat. They haven't really paid a lot of attention down here, other than the bike trail issues. Bike trail attempts,
right.
but I've got the contact information.
Okay, well, if you would love to share that with me, I would gladly take it, because I have not made any headway with them, and aside from calling the number that you Googled, I would like somebody else that actually knows what I'm talking about when I call them.
So I'm thinking, ahead and optimistically. So let's say we get this built and then we have town land that we own that we don't use.
Like this one?
This one, the one back here, just we have assets that,
Right.
We can use for,
To help offset some of the expense.
yeah.
I was thinking that too, because this building is not worthless. It's just, it's not serving its purpose for us anymore. And with some money put into it, it could still be a good building for somebody. And land is always worth something, so.
I mean, we have land and I just wonder how much it would be advantageous to the town to let go and sell some of the land.
Right.
Why are we keeping it?
Right. Yeah. So,
Okay,
I think you own some over the Barrels Falls Road too.
it'd be
If you're
interesting,
talking about selling land.
yeah, it'd be interesting to have a list of,
everything.
to add on to your
Yeah.
list there of town-owned properties, I think
I
of
don't know
that,
where it is over there.
yeah, there's a little
Was it
piece.
tax card?
Oh, they've had
Is
it.
it where that little
50 years.
campground spot is, would they have a grill, just a
Oh,
little
yeah.
teeny thing near the river, do you know where I'm talking about, it's like a rest area?
Yeah.
On the right,
Yep, the town doesn't.
We own that. And I think there's some across the road from there.
Hmm.
You just
I don't
want to
know
move the
how much.
realtor and say, this is what we got, move it for
I
us.
know, we have a piece on Hebron that we talked about several years ago that the landowners adjacent were interested in buying, and it's a small
Yeah.
piece, and if I understand it correctly, it's kind of muddy, soggy,
yeah,
boggy.
Yeah.
And I just recently talked to the landowner and they'd be interested, not for an exorbitant price, but, they were still interested.
It just, this whole law change of the tax acquired properties plays a huge role into that, because, and, that's one of the questions that I had for Gray was, we have this tax acquired property on Tenny Hill that we've owned for at least 5 years. So do we have to pay the previous owner because we're gonna keep it for municipal use? Because that's a requirement for the new tax acquired properties, but we've owned this one for 5 years.
I wonder if it's grandfather.
Ooh,
Yeah.
so that was one of the questions that I had for him.
So you have to pay them if you keep it?
You have to pay them fair market profit.
Is this-
Yeah.
I know.
So you're better off just to hang on to them, not do anything with them.
It encouraged, as far as I can see, this is just encouraging people to not pay their property
Yeah,
taxes.
Yeah, and then have the town,
Pay
have
them.
the town be their real estate agent, sell it
Yes,
for them, and then
absolutely.
give them the money.
Yeah,
The perfect example is Esther Ann over here.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a fairly valuable piece of land,
Yeah,
and she only owns 8,000. So
so,
you can get 8,000 and then sell it for probably 50.
yeah.
3 Water Street and 7 Water Street and 0 Water Street, the town owns.
Okay. Is it possible at some point to get a list of all the
Yeah,
town-owned properties that have been like dates, I guess, you know, those that might fall under this new law and those that don't.
They're
right.
not necessarily tax acquired properties either. They're just-
Yeah,
For some of them,
right.
thank you so much. Cause like. But yes, we can get a list together of everything that the town owns and like. We own something on Spring Road. That's
But
on,
you can potentially sell anything that isn't tax acquired.
right. Oh, that's the actual spring.
That's what I initially started to think of, but then, yeah. Alright.
Okay.
We're good on that?
I think so, yeah, I'm gonna just reach back out to him and let him know that I'm actively looking for another place to put said building. So that he can come and like look at another spot to try to do stuff, but
What is like the next step in terms of the grant? Do we have to have I would expect a site identified and agreed?
we would have to have a budget number.
Yeah, which would include the purchase of whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, where are we? Oh, another grant, DOT Village Partnership Initiative grant.
Yeah.
I opened what you had shared with us on email from Matt Drost. It was a little challenging to open and view.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
So I had to print it out because, and make a book. Because I figured it would be easiest for all of us, but I only made one book because you don't need more than those books. I guess what he's looking for right now is comments on the actual report so that they can give us a final report.
Oh, okay.
Is what they're looking for now. And then our final report will be given to us after we make any comments on this report. And then, once we have the final report and we're gonna accept the final report, that's when we'll invite Matt Drost to our meeting to accept the final report. And then after the final report, we can finally submit for reimbursement. But the thing that I had questions on was, it was really made out to me that there would be like a menu, so to speak, of things to choose from, and
That's
the
what I was
only
thinking.
cost analysis really in this is not very, here, you can do this for $100,000 or this
Right.
for, like, it's very much like, this is gonna be $11 million and hang on, let me see. if I can-
15. I saw that number correctly.
I'm just curious, how many towns actually, when they get involved in this, complete the project?
I don't know,
That's a good
and,
question.
cause we're like one of the first people that in this county to start this, so when I was talking about, like, Milo just became part of the initiative, and so we're the guinea pigs, I feel like, in some aspects, because for in this county anyways.
But I just feel like they don't really seem to get a small town.
Right. So, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, when, you know, I was kind of involved in the beginning of this, and you know, one comment that stood out to me at our last public meeting, someone asked like, what was, you know, how much would it be for the town, our share? And it was, I gotta tell you, a shock, because that number was much more than when we started this whole process
Right.
in terms of our share would be. And then I thought, and this was the question I had when I was reading this again, is I thought they had said that there was a way of also helping us with the cost of what our share would be, if I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
So there was some confusion I had about that.
Yeah.
And you're right, we said that we would be able to pick from the menu of, you know, to pare down, so it's much
Right.
more fiscally reasonable.
This is the beautification
Yeah,
Down
everything that was
street
up to the gym there.
stuff. You're talking about the putting the, you know, 10-foot sidewalks in and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
I was gonna say something else, but stuff, okay, just to make sure I'm following. I agree with you.
yeah, I mean,
I think
it's
it's
just
this-
absurd that any town could even come close to affording what you're proposing, let alone,
$15 million.
And yet, even if we could, do we want to? Is
No.
my question, because I think some of the things they wanna put in there. You gotta maintain it.
and I don't think they've gotten the gist of any of the meetings that we've had and the feedback they've gotten. Nothing has drastically
Well,
changed.
No.
As a little hindsight, I think that we probably should have asked the town if they were interested in doing this study before we did the study, because every feedback that we've gotten so far has been negative.
Right.
Oh, and I'm not bashing the fact.
No, but I think that if we had
Mhm.
done that, we wouldn't be
Have
where
gotten
we're
into
at.
it,
We
yeah.
I
wouldn't
also-
even, it wouldn't even be on the table.
Well, I also, I think that I said right from the first public meeting that there was, like, if you were starting a town in the middle of
Mhm.
where there wasn't anything, okay, this could work. Or if it was a menu where you could choose, like you were just talking about, where you could choose, yeah, we wanna do something for crosswalks. We wanna do, you know, a couple of these projects. But I also, like, it just,
Snowballed.
it's
is.
huge, and I think the idea was that it's like, you know, you put all these great ideas out, or whether they're great or not, I guess is debatable. You put all the ideas out, and then the town pares it down, but it's not really set up
It's
that
not
way.
reflected. And I was gonna say, you know, our list over there, when, a couple years ago at Summerfest, we had like this little survey there, and along with top of the list was cell service, but people wanted pedestrian safety and better sidewalks, crosswalks. And so it kind of began, it was born out of that.
Right.
And again, I think we might need to have a conversation with Matt of what can we pare down so that it's
Yeah.
financially reasonable for our
Oh,
town.
right here, this is where they come up with their $15 million.
Mhm.
So like, the only choices that we have, like removing pavement surface,
Mhm.
that's $351,000.
I'm looking at that.
And then, you know, like, this isn't the kind of menu I was envisioning at all.
I mean, there's no choosing there, that's just.
Like, this is
what-
just what it is, it's
what it's
broken
gonna
down.
be.
Right.
So when he says we have to look through this report before it's finalized, so do we have the opportunity to have a conversation with him about, can we say some of these things we don't need and revamp, or?
Yeah.
before it's final.
Well, and I think that, you know, like you said, like, we don't have to do everything that's in here or any of.
That's what they told us at the meeting.
And
right?
so. I
But there's
think,
just so much going on
yeah,
that, how do you actually say, well, I like this and I like this and I like this, but I don't like this?
you know, I like the.
Because it's all yes. Just say, hey, put us in some crosswalks, that's what we want.
How much is that gonna run us?
cost us?
Nothing to wait.
Yeah.
Had-
I think the
guy
average person
painted.
in town wants a nice road going through town, hot topped, no sinkholes, nice sidewalks. I think one of the ideas I like, up by the bank, going up to the auditorium and stuff like that, possibly cut back, so there could be some parking there.
Well,
And I think I was at the first meeting, I know Sue was there as well, I had to chase around I had heard about it. But it was going to happen at some point, and I had to email, he who shall not be named, to basically invite myself to that meeting, and my brother came and I went, and we were the only two people that weren't part of town government, really, and it's unfortunate. I mean, we sort of got that feedback at the first public meeting, like, it would have been nice I think Mike might have offered the feedback, and while sometimes it's hard to hear, it was right to the point and very right to the point, but it would have been nice to be invited, like, sometimes you have to actually go out and because at that first meeting we discussed, and one of the concerns was the rate of speed of traffic going through town and how to slow it down, and I anticipated maybe some type of traffic, like a speed bump or something.
Or a median or
Like,
something, just
but it became,
a complete.
well, again, it would, if you didn't have the buildings in town, you could design it any way you wanted,
Right.
maybe it would make sense.
Well, and then I was looking at like, I was reading, like things that we would need to get right of ways and all of that, and it said like 15 things that we need to get like permission to do, and I was like, that's
I
crazy.
wonder if we could sit down with Matt and just go through what they're proposing, you know, some of the calming areas where they're putting in little islands in the middle of the road, but DOT is gonna redo that road, and can that be part of their budget?
Right.
And just have us be able to focus on some of the other things we need, the crosswalks, the sidewalks, the parking.
Right.
See, I mean, they were proposing like 0 parking on Main Street.
Mhm.
That is kind of a bad idea. Cause Glenn's mentioned it and I've mentioned it, I've always wanted to go in a certain store if there's no parking on Main Street. And I wish to go in that store for 10 years, but I never stop there because I'm not gonna drive a mile and a half and walk back to, it's crazy. But I just think people want the better sidewalks, they're all cracked up. I'd rather take some of the money, I don't know what they use to do sidewalks now, but it shouldn't be a plow truck. No, seriously,
Yeah.
that's gonna do damage,
Right.
you can bet on it.
Yeah.
And we need to keep, the thing is, like, we had some trees there, some of them died. Okay, that's fine, they never were replaced. And if you have them professionally done, they do replace them once. But then they was talking about having, a bicycle path and a walking path, I don't know how wide, with trees and benches and stuff. Is the town gonna be prepared to maintain this stuff?
Well, that's just
No,
it, is,
absolutely.
If you don't have the money to maintain it, let's have nice sidewalks, let's have nice.
And safe crosswalks, so
Right.
people can cross from the sidewalk side of the street to the museum or to the
Yeah.
town office. Like, it would be nice to be able to cross
Yeah.
without taking your life into your own
I mean,
hands.
even, possibly some signal lights one end of the town or the other. If you're not doing all this other stuff they're proposing,
Right.
you can afford to do that.
Yeah.
I know there's a light thing still up there, I think it's probably for the school.
Yeah.
A light system, don't know if it works, but, you know, what did they do? The first thing they did when they took that speed bump down by us,
Yeah.
immediately,
Yeah.
cause you had some people that the speed didn't bother them a bit, that, you know, flew right over it. And hey, it slowed me down. I'm not saying I was going 50 miles an hour, but it did. I want to be a good citizen.
I will say I came down the hill slower. I
Yeah.
didn't have to hit the brakes quite as hard at the bottom because I would come down knowing there was a speed bump. I would
Yeah,
just
cause you don't want,
drive
'cause,
at 20 instead
yeah,
of.
on that truck I've got, it
Yeah,
just bounced all over the place. So there's other avenues we could go to, like you said, people want to feel safe, they want crosswalks, they want the traffic to slow down and stuff like that. There's cheaper ways to do that,
Absolutely.
and I think personally, I think that's the route we should go. Cause we're not by harbor. Some of the things they did, looks like you
No.
see down at by harbor.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you, and I think that, you know, like, this was great to see and visualize.
It's a beautiful plan.
It really is,
Wherever it is.
I think too though, you have to,
but at the same time, and this, it's almost like in order to get any of the grants from DOT from this, we had to have this in order to be eligible.
Yeah.
Is what it seems like. It's almost like my son needs to be evaluated because he needs a one-on-one, so he has to have a diagnosis to have that one-on-one.
Right.
And so it's like
I don't understand why they can't do it scaled down 10 times, like
Yeah,
a normal town, rather than just say,
Yeah.
well, and it's one of what you were saying before, they don't really understand. And we're a small town,
Right.
relatively poor in Piscataquis County. We're
Yeah.
not on the coast. We're
Right.
not a destination like Greenville can be at certain times. Like, I love Monson, don't get me wrong, but there are some, the tax base is limited. Like, the maintenance costs alone on some of this would be astronomical, but I think if we can talk to them and.
Is there a timeline that we have to get back with now?
well, I think what they're asking right now, is there anything wrong with the plan that they have right now?
Yes.
We need to talk,
And
Matt.
so I think, and DOT is gonna make their comments to Don as well.
Okay.
So I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with the study itself, and I could potentially say, okay, you could give us your final report, cause I don't think it's gonna get better than this. I don't think it's gonna be more in line with what we want it to be, but I think that then we'll have a report to then work with Matt to say, okay, we wanna do sidewalks, that's what we wanna do, we wanna do sidewalks and crosswalks, how much is that gonna cost us?
And then slow
And
traffic down, what will that cost?
Right, exactly, and so once we get to that point, then we can be like, okay, this is what we can do. It's not necessarily a matter of this is what we want to do, this is
Right.
what we can do.
Right.
If we could do whatever we wanted to do, this would be great, but it's not realistic.
And not for everybody.
And not for
then there's
everyone.
not enough room to do it.
Right,
Well, taking over
Well,
people's property.
well, and I was just trying to find that this is how much you need to take over.
I said, can we just give them a number and say, this is our budget? What can you do?
Elena, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
We need to get that eventually approved in order to get the grant
Right.
back to pay for the study.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I had to guess, I'd say there's a lot of studies going on based on grants and not much end result.
Yeah.
This looks more like a study program than anything else.
Yeah.
Well, and, you know, without throwing anyone under the bus, I do think that you have to look at who was leading this when it started and the vision of it didn't always jive with reality, and I think, so
Yeah.
this is what we ended up with because that's where we started, way up here.
Well, I
instead of-
don't think we started way up there. I mean, Sandra was on the board with me at the time.
It
I
was
was-
very misleading.
Yeah, we just wanted, again, slow traffic down, make it pedestrian safe, have crosswalks, have sidewalks.
Right,
And
but
then it
no, I
snowballed
don't mean
into-
that start, I mean that first meeting I sat in,
Uh,
when they asked, just throw out all the ideas, and people started throwing out ideas, and they took those ideas as what we wanted when it was trying to paint a picture of the concerns and the issues, and I just think that there were, I in no way meant that
Okay,
you and,
yeah.
what you and Sandra, like, I think the intent was good, and it got blown up
Blown
to
out of
this
proportion.
Yeah,
degree.
well, and I could
Some
see,
point.
it's, I was thinking, it's like when you go to buy a car, right? They'll show you the one with all the bells and whistles,
Oh, yeah.
and then you go, oh, I don't think so, that I don't need all that, and just pare it down. So that's what I was hoping the process would
Right.
be. I could understand, they're engineers and they're artists, and.
Consider the cost of having this done, so it would have to probably be pretty elaborate, I would think, for price tag like
It
that.
wouldn't have been an expensive project to design if it was just a couple of crosswalks and,
Sidewalk.
I mean, you needed something like this to be able to charge 70 or 80,000, whatever it was.
Right.
And I'd almost be willing to bet that more or less, if there's another town going through the same thing, they probably take that same similar layout and they just kind of cut and paste in the other towns.
This is that plan there is the third one that I've seen in my lifetime. And none of them ever evolved.
Yeah.
None of them.
I mean, I definitely think
Oh, yeah.
something could evolve, but it's gotta be realistic.
That's the thing, if it was realistic,
Yeah.
it wouldn't automatically be, we can't, like, if it had stayed more in reality, it wouldn't have met with
The tension and everything.
the tension and the pushback from people, if it had stayed more in line with what Monson is and what, like.
I
making
do
some
really
good
like the
improvements.
slate sign coming into town. I do really like that.
I bet Taco can do one for cheaper than 15 million.
How much did they ask for that?
I don't
sign?
know,
Is
because
that
it's
a
not
sign?
broken out.
A welcome to Monson kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm welcome to Monson slate sign. I
Well,
just think that would be so cool.
Talk to John.
But aside from that, I'm just kidding. There is some good.
I think she ought to have it.
The trees on the sidewalk, somebody already mentioned it. That was done through some kind of a grant.
Yeah.
I can't remember the guy's name. But, Woodbury. He used to be around here. And evidently, he didn't know salt kills trees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to explain that to them. They were doing it.
Salt and food bombs.
Mm,
Yeah, that'll get you.
Yeah, all but two.
So where do we go from here? We're gonna,
So
We need to
I
approve.
would say that we just tell them they did a great job and thanks for all their help. And then when Matt comes to accept to the next meeting or whenever we give the final report, when Matt comes, then we can explain, like, we really are interested in doing crosswalks and sidewalks.
we need, or
everything
just
else.
say, we need to pare this down.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
So
We
Well,
can't
we
do
can't,
all this.
right.
Do you
Right.
wanna get the report accepted pretty much as it is, so you get your grant money back?
Pretty much,
That's what you, yeah.
pretty
that's-
much.
Then you take. it off on-
Then we can take what we want to take from this and move forward with it.
Okay,
I think is the
I
best.
mean, it's a beautiful report.
It is,
sure.
yeah.
It's got nice pictures.
It
I like
does.
Okay.
pictures.
that's what I was wondering, if we accept that, are we committed?
No,
Okay,
no,
we're just
it's
accepting
just
the
the
report.
report, yeah.
Yeah, we're not.
Well,
we're not-
they can come after us for 15 million if they
They-
I'll
want.
be
but-
rolling on Monday, start plant stuff.
Yeah,
You sure we
No.
didn't
so,
sign the wrong line?
yeah, so, I really wanted to find where it says, oh, full takes. So partial acquisitions can be defined as areas that may require permanent easement or partial take. These areas were where the proposed roadway template, blah, blah, blah. So there's 32 parcels that would require partial acquisitions, a value of $25,000 per parcel.
What?
Is included in the right-of-way cost for partial takes.
Is this how that low?
And then full takes, there's,
Full take like the whole property?
we have identified no parcels that will require a full take. But I feel like the 32 parcels that we're
That's
gonna
like
have to.
every single house on Main Street.
That's when
Yeah.
they, every time you saw those lines cross
Yeah.
on their
Yeah.
drawings and they said, that's just the
Yeah.
Google Maps not matching up
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
land map.
And $25,000
Like
per
Nick and
parcel.
Lulu,
Yeah.
they're, yeah, we're not
Those are the
taking their
partial
land.
takes, one take moves.
That's crazy.
25 times 32 is what we need, just to be able to do with what we want to do. And that's just not,
I mean,
You're pretty much gonna be owning right up to the front doorstep of every house on.
right.
Yeah.
it's great to
And
dream,
then
but
give them an elevator so they can get there.
Yeah.
And then temporary grading rights of lawns or driveways as necessary to complete construction, but no permanent impacts are necessary. We have identified 76 parcels that will
every single
require
one.
a temporary grading rights. A value of 1,000 per parcel is included in the right of way. So what is
I'd
the
like to do the legal work on that.
Yeah, really.
$76,000
They
just
basically
for
presented that,
messing
that's
up?
not gonna happen. We shouldn't have cut that tree down, I tied myself to the tree.
So where does it say right of way?
Hmm.
It doesn't.
It's
You're up
just
to
in a big
almost a
number.
million already.
What's that?
You're up to almost a million
Yeah.
already, about 900,000.
Right, yeah.
Time you've done, you know,
Right,
I mean, somebody's gonna, they say 25,000,
enough for me.
if I own it, give me 30, I might sell it. you know.
yeah.
No.
Right,
Alright,
so I think we can allay everyone's fears that.
Yeah.
That.
That ain't gonna happen.
Not gonna.
alright,
All right, we will negotiate to get what we really need.
yeah,
All right, I had, that we added after this, the 19th Center Street update
Yes.
timelines.
so I will give you what I have for a timeline, but I actually reached out to Gray to review my timeline. So if I'm correct, which I'm pretty sure that I am because I read it right off the findings in order. He has 30 days from the time of notice, which was December 28th. So that puts us at January 27th to file an appeal.
Great.
So I wanna know how long we have to wait after that 30 days. So I do have an email into Gray for that. I think we only have to wait those 30 days, but I'm not 100% sure.
And then what at that point, if it
Then-
is?
Then we can move forward with finding a contractor and all of that.
I will say, there's been a change on that property. I'm pretty sure, I haven't looked closely in a while, but some of the, some more things sprung out
Oh,
of,
fun.
like on the front where those open floor joists are.
Vince,
And
Yeah,
they're vents, right, but, yeah, some of the soffit popped loose, which I don't know if that's because
The
there's
roof's
more
coming
going on
down.
with the roof,
Yeah, yeah.
like, but,
The hole in the roof's gotten bigger.
yeah.
Mm,
But he has till 27th of January
To file an appeal.
to file an appeal.
Yes.
And if he doesn't, that's it. Tear it down.
Yeah, as far as I know, yes, but like I said, I touched base with Greg to say if I was correct in that
Okay.
manner, because according to the findings of order, that's what it says.
Yeah.
Is you have 30 days from date of notice, which was December 28th.
he signed for the letter on December 28th, so.
I think I saw somewhere in the policy or the law, but anyway, we'll wait and see what the attorney says. And
Yeah.
guide us on that.
Yeah, so, at our next meeting, we'll be able to.
Okay.
So day 31, we'll have the contractor drop this stuff off and having it down, so there's no more questions about it. It's done.
I will see the end of this because I cannot imagine the fact that it's gone on since
Me too.
2000, probably.
2000.
Yeah, so 25 years we're working on.
And if for some reason you're wrong on the 30 days, we just say, oops.
It's gone now.
Scratch that, yeah.
So what's for the value of it?
You make me nervous when we're.
We won't, we'll follow the rules.
Okay, all right, on to our next one before we get in trouble again. The comp plan, so we need to set a date to meet, Sandra's still on?
Yes, she is.
Okay.
Oh, and Jamie's on there too, so good, we can make a date to go over that.
All right,
Yes, please.
when's our deadline for getting it back in again?
Mid-March, I think.
Okay.
So sooner the better.
Let's
Alright.
not wait. That's my point. Let's get it done.
Yeah. We're meeting next week
Yep, next Thursday.
with the planning board.
No, it's.
Oh, no, it's a planning session, I'm
It's a
sorry.
planning session.
Our planning session.
But we do need to schedule that too. And I reached out to the planning board and the planning board said, you guys pick a date, we'll be there.
Okay.
So,
Do we wanna do that instead of the planning session and push the planning session?
we can. Did anybody else post to that?
No.
Okay, so next Thursday, 6 PM, looking at comp plan.
Is that okay for you, Sandra and James?
Oh, I've got another meeting that night.
What about 5? Does 5 work better?
5 would work if you can get it cranked through in an hour, which we should be able to do, yeah.
Okay.
Does that work for you guys?
I mean, Thursday's a hockey night, though.
Oh,
Man, that's fun.
No, I was,
Okay.
The
I'm
whole,
looking at my calendar here.
I mean, it's just, as long as somebody from the select board and James and Elena, Marty are involved, I think.
As long as most of you are here. So Jamie's looking at his calendar, Thursday at 5 PM.
James did send me a message that said, he said he could make a thermometer or a Jimmy cutout. For fun.
all right, are we good then?
Um,
Oh, is James still looking?
yeah,
Yeah, that was on the 16th, you said?
yes, at 5 o'clock.
5. I may be driving people to the airport, so I usually would be back by then, but there's a chance I might not be able to make it. I can probably give you more information by tomorrow.
Okay,
Could we push it off to the 23rd?
yeah, do you wanna do it on the 23rd? Is that better for both of you?
Can we do it on a day other than
Looks fine for me.
Thursday, solve everybody's problem?
Or even a Tuesday?
I'll go with let-
Is open for me, and Tuesdays, except for next week, are open for me.
Yeah, Tuesdays are fine.
Okay, so what about Tuesday, the 21st?
Works fine for me.
Okay.
Does 4 or 5 work better?
Doesn't matter.
Fine for me.
Okay, what about for you guys, 4 or 5?
Either one works.
Okay, 4 o'clock it is.
Okay. Comp plan review, all right, and everybody should have a copy, or should I send copies?
If you wanna resend it to me, that would be great.
I
Yeah, I
can
mean-
tell you that most people have it, but I
What
think you
day?
should probably resend it.
The 21st at 4 PM.
Won't
I
be
have,
tomorrow, but next week I will do that.
Okay,
I have mine downloaded already, so I'm good.
she's a good girl.
I know, I'm teachers like that. Okay,
No homework is always late.
Mine is always on time, but on time. It's not coming early, it's on time.
All right, new business, update remote policy?
Okay, so we can't do this right now. I thought we would be able to tonight, but that's why I added it to the agenda. But the problem is the appeals board needs to be able to use our remote policy. And the MMA attorneys are saying that it's too vague and doesn't specify if the appeals board, if it applies. But Gray, he told me to send him a copy, so I did, but he hasn't gotten back to me yet. But we're not sure if we have to do another public hearing and all of that stuff in order to update the remote policy.
Did we, that's a while ago,
Yeah.
did we have a public hearing for that?
Yep.
Wow, okay.
So, but the appeals board, so Gray is saying that the policy that we might have already may already apply to the appeals board. So that
They
we're
just
getting
trying to
to,
It sounded to me like it just applied across the board.
Right.
After I read it again the other
The
day.
town of Monson adopts the following policy to govern the participation via remote methods of members of the body and the public in the public proceedings or meetings of the town of Monson.
right, so to me, that sounds like to everybody.
Me too.
But the MMA was like, it doesn't specifically say.
So you just have to say select board, planning board, appeals board.
Yeah, but our
Cemetery
seems to
committee.
feel differently.
Right,
So
so
that's
he,
what we'll
but
go
he
with,
needed a
but-
copy of it first before he could make his final
Okay.
decision, so I sent him the copy and I haven't heard back yet,
Okay.
so we may need to revisit this at some point if he comes back
Hopefully
and says.
they have a different interpretation because I
Yeah.
think oftentimes.
Yeah.
They have a different interpretation.
Yeah, which is, yeah. So we're just gonna move, at least now you guys know about it and,
What the issue is.
Yeah. so, donations. We have 2 donations to accept this. The first one, let me find mine. The first one is the work done on the fire department door for a value of $1,200. The Killam's have generously donated that to
Wow.
us. I typed up a letter to give to them and everything, and I signed it on behalf of you guys.
Yeah.
But you guys just have to accept that
Okay.
donation.
It's really nice.
Yeah,
I make a
that's-
motion that we accept the donation from the Killings for the work on the fire department doors.
I didn't even like propose a motion, but I will second that.
Hey, what?
I'm just kidding.
Did I do something wrong?
No,
you did not.
You're right on top of
You're
it.
right
Yeah,
on
I
it.
just was ready to move.
It's late and I'm just, yeah, any further discussion? All in favor?
And then the second donation is a rescue sled donated to the fire department from Libra.
Oh,
So we
Wow.
have
Like
Had-
a sled,
like a tow behind,
Okay,
it's almost
that's
like
what I
a,
thought, yeah.
like a gurney, but
Yep.
on skis
pulp,
basically.
pulp sled.
Yeah.
We used to have that on.
We have one that was donated to us as well, but this one is much better than the one that we had
If they
currently
wanna
have.
donate a piece of property.
Right,
But-
right.
But no, that's awesome.
I'll make a motion on that. Okay. No, that one, but I'll make a motion to accept the donation from Libra for the sled.
Okay,
I'll second it.
and Chuck's going to write up a thank you letter to send to them
Awesome,
on
okay.
behalf of the fire.
Is it at Highland Farms?
Highland Farms.
Yeah.
Okay, I amend that motion, Highland Farms.
Second.
All in favor?
All right,
Anything else on that?
nope.
Okay. Paid, Maine paid family leave.
All right, so due to the size of the town technically doesn't have to pay into this because we technically have less than 15 employees.
Okay.
Because the fire department only gets paid a certain amount of weeks and it doesn't constitute an employee status, according to what their mumbo jumbo says. So my question is, each employee has to pay 0.5% And I wanted to know if the town wanted to contribute 0.25%. And if my math is done right, it would equal about $500 a year for the town side, if we wanted to do that. It just takes a little of the burden off of the employees paying into this when they're already making little in some,
Right.
not necessarily all positions, but in some positions, they're already making minimum wage or whatever, and then they're gonna be
How
paying.
does the law work though? I mean, like you said, we're, go back to the beginning.
Yeah, so if we were over 15 employees,
Okay,
we would be paying the 0.5% anyways.
gotcha, okay.
And the town would. But because we're lower than 15, the whole 0.5% comes from the employees.
Gotcha.
And so I just wanted to know if we wanted, as a town, to pay half of their
I mean,
contribution.
it's $500 a year,
Yeah,
and
And that would just more or less apply to like you, Marty, James, Steve.
Everybody.
everybody, because everybody has to pay into it even though they're not eligible.
The 15 foot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even the fire department has to pay into
we
it.
I don't know if they're not eligible, they just aren't part of our,
Well, they wouldn't be eligible.
They can't
for it
draw.
because they can't draw.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, which makes, just like ballot clerks, the ballot clerks have to pay in, but they're not gonna be
I
eligible.
mean, we have.
Yeah.
We must have the funds we can move around
Yeah.
to.
How much would be if the town covered all of it?
Like
Let's say 1,000.
1,000. But I don't know if,
I don't know if that's an option,
I
they
don't
give
know
you
if-
options
yeah.
like of what,
but it says it may take all of the 5% out of the employee, so it says may, you may be able to. So, but I think that at least splitting it would be pretty fair, because, you know, this kind of sucks for everybody, this going
I
into
would be
this and-
open to, if we can pay the full 5.5%, I would be open to that. I think it's the right way to treat people, and you know, it's $1,000 a year, we're not talking about.
Right.
A lot more than
Yeah.
that. I
I got a question on
Sure
that.
thing.
If the percentage goes up in the future, would the town reconsider paying the whole portion, or are they stuck and committed to paying? Like if it, and I'm not saying it would, but if it jumps up a huge amount.
right,
Well, we could leave it at, the town will contribute 0.5%, so that way if it goes up, anything over 0.5%, the
Yeah.
employee would.
yeah, because I mean, I wouldn't want it to be burdensome, but that's not to be
Right.
burdensome, but it could be for somebody that's not making very much money.
Well, and that was kind of my
I
thought.
didn't mean to imply that
No, no.
$1,000 is a burden.
No,
no,
I didn't.
Down the road, I didn't want a
Yep.
problem down the road.
Yep.
Right,
Well,
right,
I know exactly what you're saying, I can definitely see this not working out like they planned, and so they say, well, we'll just add some more money.
Right.
right.
Just add some more money.
or
Yeah.
take it away, like the tax stabilization.
It's not that much
Well,
more.
that wasn't a good idea.
No, it's a good thought, Jeff.
We probably would need to address it when we meet to update the personnel policy, include that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just, wanted to know what you guys wanted to do, because right now it's coming out of everybody's checks, because it
Yeah.
had to go into effect January 1st.
Okay.
So I wanted to know,
Can you check to see if we can do
Do
more
all-
than 0.25?
Yeah.
And if we can, then, I mean, I would,
I'll donate my whole check to it.
your whole plumbing check or your whole?
No,
general
check.
Wow, you are generous.
Do this for the enjoyment.
You know,
Yeah.
I exactly, you know, I feel the same way.
Yeah, I would too, so.
It's not like that paychecks, you know, is something that gets me through.
I don't count on that throughout the
Not-
year
yeah.
to make ends meet.
Either. I think, I agree, it's the right thing to do to support our employees.
Right, I mean, we value them, they do a lot of.
well,
good work.
and that's why I kind of thought like, of the idea of splitting it, because other towns are just, okay, well, you can pay your 5% and I'll pay my 5%, and you can just go on a happy way, but
We
I was
might,
just thinking, this is and kind of an incentive to be like, we value you,
Yeah,
you're appreciated.
And we might be recruiting those other town employees. that-
Right.
From other towns that don't.
Yeah. Yeah,
My boss
So-
doesn't think like that.
no,
I've got my accountant trying to figure something out for me.
Yeah.
it's dumb in some ways, it really is, because.
I like the idea, I just don't like how
Sure.
they go about it.
Sure, and like making everybody pay into it, even if you're not eligible for it, like ballot clerks, that makes no sense to me. You work one day a year and you still have to pay into this.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow. Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, like me. I've gotta pay in,
Hmm.
but I can't say, well, I'm taking sick leave, I want my money.
Right, right.
Right,
Huh. I never thought about that.
so it's,
The unintended consequence.
I
yeah.
didn't realize
It's a
that.
great idea till you pencil it out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Thought process. So I will look into, if the town can pay the whole 5%, 0.5%,
0.5%,
5%.
We almost went to 5.
That decimal makes all the difference.
It sure does, 0.5%, and then we'll go from there.
All right, very good. All right,
County
county
tax.
tax.
Sign this bad boy. So unfortunately, county tax went up again. And it was an increase of $12,000, 12,500 actually. And their mill rate even went down, if you can imagine. But our valuation went up. So our valuation from 2023 to 2024 went from 91,200,000 to 105 million, an increase of 14,400,000, with the projected to be in 2025 111 million. So that just reiterates the need for a reval or a factor,
Right.
because,
It's not just my garage, is it?
It is, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is, no.
well, and I was
We're
looking,
gonna park the fire truck. in there.
yeah.
Should have covered it with tar paper.
Yeah.
So.
Then you could have stayed in the upstairs apartment.
Yeah. So I was looking at what our valuation in-house is versus what the state has us valued at. And our valuation's 78 million, so there's like $40 million difference between what we're taxing people at and what the state is saying our valuation is.
Wow.
Yeah, those definitely gotta come a little closer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're never gonna be the same,
right,
but they need to be,
Not quite very
Right.
much.
one doesn't need to be in Arkansas and us over here.
But what's the reason and why is the state always higher?
Cause they base everything on sales of each year. And we're basing it off of like going out and actually evaluating the houses and the sales. So it's a little bit different, but unless you do a reval every year, it's hard to keep up with that. But because of COVID and everything that happened, that's what made everything skyrocket. But this is just, the county tax, the school budget, everything, our value, there's, on paper, it looks like we can pay more than what we can. So. So you guys have to sign the assessor's return for the county and send it back we'll send it back to them. But you'll have to make a motion to accept or really, you can't really accept it, you don't have a choice,
We
but.
we can review it.
Yeah.
can,
And I have a copy of their
you
budget.
said it's going up 12,500, was that
Yeah.
it? So about what we get for providing fire coverage. So now we're doing fire coverage for free.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe we can work on negotiating that up.
Well, yes, so,
But
I
then they'll
actually put
probably
a
raise our tax rate.
bug in his ear that that's gonna be coming, but he works on budgets like 24 months out, so.
Has anybody ever tried to negotiate that stuff?
Last year, right?
Yeah,
We
so it
went
did go up last year, and,
Not like actually negotiate, not just say,
Right.
well, can I get this? And they say, no, you'll get this, okay. I mean, really negotiate
No.
with them.
Well, just-
no, because we didn't have any, like, data to base it off of, and now we do, so. It's a little bit easier to stand our ground to be like, this is what you need to pay.
So I'm just,
Are
I,
we supposed to sign this?
No,
well,
we have to make, we
you
have
can
to
review
read
it
it,
first.
we have to make a motion.
So I'm sorry if this is just a basic ignorant question, but when we made the budget, they gave us the figure of 158,000.
For-
Am I looking at that
That's last year's,
less
so this will be what we paid this year,
this year?
so we already paid the 158,000.
Oh, I see, it's a year.
Yes.
Okay, see, I knew that was a stupid question. but
Yes.
I didn't
No, that's okay,
understand
no question is stupid. And I have to remind myself when I'm calling people to ask them questions, because I'm like, this I know is a dumb question, I should know it, like today. How to figure out how much a mill rate increases in the budget, I could not, and I spent way too much time, I finally picked up the phone and called the county, because they were the ones asking me for it, I'm like, how do I figure it out? I've been here for 2 hours, and now I do not have any more time to spend on this, how do I figure it out? I said, I figured out what our valuation is, and she's like, okay, well, you need to divide your whole budget by your mill rate. And I was like, I did do that. And I was like, so it's $102,000 and change or whatever. So per mill, that's how much revenue it creates,
I
is
see.
102,000.
Okay.
So I was like, so I did it right, I just didn't know that I did it right because
Right.
that's how it made sense in my head to do it out like that, but I'm like, that can't be that easy.
It's good to,
But it was nice to know.
I blame it on the time of night.
Yeah.
For sure. So do we need a motion to, well, like you said, we can't really accept it? or
Make a motion to sign it.
To sign it, I'll make a motion to sign the county tax, return, assessor return,
2025 assessor return?
Second.
second. Any discussion? All in favor?
You always abstain.
Can we abstain from paying the tax? No.
Well, I think it says on there, you can if you want to, but then there's penalties
Oh,
and all
yeah,
kinds of.
no,
Do we have any miscellaneous?
No, I don't think we do. I don't even have my agenda anymore right here.
Anything else that we left off? Think we're good? Motion to adjourn?
Seconded.
All in favor?
My brain shut off when I heard it.
So we are done at 8:46.